Okay, I don't know what that's gonna look like, but
Should
look like something.
As long as the dog's in the shot, it's kind of all I care about.
Cool. Now let's get drunk.
I'm way too coherent for a podcast.
All right, we can chug like 4 of them and then start if you want.
That works for me.
I got a 12-pack, so there's enough for all of us to chug 3.
Now, watching Josh use tools, this is kind of cool. This is like...
Oh, my head!
They start playing the 2001 music when the monkeys discover starts beating it.
It's like, have you guys seen the movie Zoolander when they're like trying to use the computers?
Yeah.
They're just like busted.
Files are in the computer.
Yeah, it's like on the thing and starts beating it. Well, and they've got like a monkey face on. It was really offensive.
That's not
the whole
racist.
thing.
That's when racism
Yeah,
was
you
funny.
couldn't do that now.
Nope.
No. There are some things in movies that they just, especially from like the early 2000s, that so recent that you could not make.
Right.
Now.
Oh,
You
yeah.
could not do it.
Yeah, everybody's hot and bothered by anything they possibly can be.
Yep.
It's pretty
It's the
amazing.
way to live.
Yeah.
That's how you
Gotta
do it.
love
Racism, huh? Catch
outrage
the
culture.
fever.
It's the thing.
All the cool kids are doing it.
So
There we go.
let's talk about skateboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't skateboard at all.
Yeah.
So my brother and I started a company called KM Skate Co.
Really?
And then we changed it to Strawberry Skateboards, and we used to make skateboards.
Out of strawberries.
And this was
Dude,
back.
no
This
way.
was back in the early '90s.
Yeah.
And we helped design the first skate parks in Kansas City.
Dude, which like Overland
with the
Park
city
and
planner.
Olathe and Overland
How
Park,
did you
the one up in
design the
Schweitzer.
first skate
yeah.
park?
They actually were recruiting skateboarders. No, I'm
They
serious.
put a flyer at CVS. We need people.
Josh, this is really hard for Josh to wrap his head around because he was homeschooled and would therefore never be approached. Being an indoorsy lad.
This is true.
So
But who would reach out?
No,
to
they
you, though?
they
This is
reached out
serious.
to skateboarders
Oh,
because
okay.
we were destroying the courthouse. We were going down to the
Yeah.
courthouse and just trashing up all the ledges, and there was a
taking the papers up.
there was
in
like
the air.
there was like a good 5 stair and then a 10 stair down there. We were always
Wow.
grinding those rails. And
Yeah.
they had
But without a
nice,
skateboard,
yeah.
it got very.
Then we got the idea.
We were just grinding on everything.
grinding.
They're like, can we give these perverts their own
Either,
park?
either get him a skateboard or get him a girlfriend.
Well, no,
we get a.
we
You can
got-
come out with a hose or spray the gear.
Shoo! I said get. Yeah, we used to get arrested a lot, and like they'd stop us because we're destroying public property.
Yeah.
You know, so it was a real need for kids to have a place to skate. And if
Yeah.
you don't skate or you haven't
Yeah, that's
skated, you
true.
don't understand. You're treated as a criminal.
This sounds
Yeah.
like a plot line to some like early 90s movie. Are you sure you didn't dream this? And
Oh,
worked
no,
on
dude.
This is
They
the
did make
plot to
movies.
Solar Babies, right? Remember that horrific movie back
Yeah.
in the late 80s?
It was
or
based off of
mid-80s?
our life.
Well, I remember as a
If Kyle didn't ride rollerblades,
kid,
his parents would be taken
I
away.
used to play. I used to play ice hockey a lot, but me and some, kind of scampy little
Yeah.
kids until we got this new coach that was mandated by the city. His name was Mr. Bombay.
Yeah. It was
and
a Pee Wee hockey team.
Pee Wee hockey team.
Yeah.
And then we
Were you
won-
the fat black one? Because I remember this.
Matthew was
Wait.
the girl that had the big jug.
I was the cute tomboy that you were surprised how beautiful she was when I let down my hair.
Were you Keenan?
I did it in slow motion. Like, she's pretty now.
No, but yeah.
of our lives.
We're not recording any of this, right, Dakota?
No, we totally are.
Oh, God dang.
we can edit out, whatever.
Which beer is
No,
mine?
I don't
'Cause I
edit.
got a canker.
think that one. We can share if you want.
Burn it on fire.
No, but
Party
Kyle,
like it's hot.
the same thing actually happened in my home in Tongi. That's why they have that like half of a skate park basically.
Right.
And there's grind stoppers on everything because
Yep.
of me and all my
Really?
buddies when we were little. Yeah, it's not as much anymore, but like I mean, I'm a little bit younger than you guys, so I imagine in the early 90s and stuff, it was worse. But when I was really big into skateboarding, like it really was a crime, basically. Like there was this cop in my hometown that would break your skateboard if he
Yeah.
caught you.
Really?
Yeah,
we
like
had that
right in
happen.
front of you.
Well, that's why we
Yeah.
decided to start making our own skateboards because they were
Yeah.
constantly getting broken.
That's
Dude.
why Kyle made them out of strawberries. It was cheaper to buy a dozen strawberries.
Compacted strawberries are eco-friendly.
This will show them.
No, how'd you make them though? Like, did you have like a press and everything?
We
or?
would actually, we'd just do like plywood. You just plywood into any shape. We'd make longboards. We made little stubby boards that we'd do these crazy tricks on. And,
Dude, that's so crazy. 'Cause
And
me,
then one wheel.
one wheel.
dude.
It's working.
But we used to love coming out to Lawrence and hitting up Millennium Park. Is it
Centennial
Park?
Yeah.
Because it was a wooden park and they had a wooden half pipe, and everything was really rough at Centennial Park. Like for skate parks, there was nothing smooth in the original Centennial Park.
Yeah, they redid it a few years ago. I miss the old park so much.
The old park was cool because it was like homemade. It was
really?
the city also reached out to children and had them help design it. And so
they built a regular one eventually, and it got popular too. Because like, I don't know if you guys know, but Kansas City is like a hub for skateboarding. Like because of Sean Malto. I don't know if you guys have heard of him.
I've skated with him.
Yeah,
I skated with him at the Ropo Park.
That's awesome. Yeah, you used to bump into him all the time when he first went pro.
I was like, man, this kid's really good. I think he's going places. And he had already been sponsored at that point.
Yeah, I think he was on DC when he was like 11 or something.
If you guys don't know, like one of the best skateboarders in the world right now, street skaters, is Sean Malto from Roland Park.
Yeah,
Really?
he's from
Legit.
Lansing
Didn't know that.
originally, but he claims like KC is his home. He's got a skateboard with the Jayhawk head on it with the Royals
wow.
hat.
Yeah,
like,
cool.
yeah, he's all about
He's got
Kansas City.
his own shoe, and I had some
Just one
Maltos.
shoe.
Yeah, everyone,
I own several shoes.
yeah,
Well,
everyone
you're
from
just
around
balling
here.
out of control, man.
And some of these shoes are pairs of shoes.
I'm humble bragging.
But,
I've got several pairs of shoes at home.
Yeah,
only
Ken-
afford one.
Now with like Chop House skateboards and my friend Kenneth, he's actually a guy that we designed some of the original skate. Like we were approached by the city.
That's awesome.
Originally, and now he does all the artwork for Chop House.
That's awesome.
And-
Do you know Value Shock then too?
Yeah,
'Cause he-
that's him.
Okay, that's Kenneth.
That's the dude.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
he's friends with Jason Barr, who does
Yep.
a podcast here
Yep.
in town.
Yep, I
and
know
they're
them.
good buddies. He's been telling me to have him on my show for a while. so-
Totally.
You guys ever hear this Tony Hawk? He's got his own video game.
No, you got to say video game.
Video.
Video.
He's got a
Video
video
game?
game. The kids
You
are
can do
playing
the
right
you
here.
can do the grinding.
He's got
and then-
Tony Hawk 1, Tony Hawk 2,
He knows.
and Tony Hawk 3.
He knows Spider-Man. 'cause
Underground.
I played Spider-Man as a
What
skateboard.
Tony Hawk game was Spider-Man in? I forget.
Tony Hawk
Hawk
2.
2, I believe. Yeah,
Wasn't it
That was
like
the
a
best
cheat
one.
code
Yeah, that was
though, or
a
Yeah,
something?
it was awesome.
I
Yeah,
used to play that over your house all the time.
dude, anti-gravity mode.
That was the
Great.
best.
Yeah.
You just fly up in the air and do tricks constantly.
That
Yeah.
game was dangerous because it did kind of force us to up the bar a little bit. Like you're used to playing in like infinite grinding abilities.
Yeah.
Like balance is no factor.
Kyle takes his skateboard off the roof.
Yeah. No, my
Oh,
brother
man.
did though.
Did he?
Like I'm on the moon.
And I broke my shins.
Call an
That was my
ambulance. Oh man. So I'd like to say just thanks for doing this. Like thanks for coming on.
for
and
sure.
I was listening to your guys' Boulevard episode the other day, and someone made this comparison of like Boulevard and Zipline, and then the guy brewing in his basement, and I'm just like, I think in this scenario, you guys are Boulevard, and I'm the dude like brewing in the basement. Like,
we might
thanks
be
for taking the
we
short
might
end of
be
the stick.
Yeah.
We're more, we're closer to Zipline than Boulevard.
And you're
Yeah.
a guy stirring a pot.
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
toilet.
Okay, that works.
I'm gonna drink this later and get intoxicated.
yeah.
Literally in the bowl, just
Yeah.
stirring those.
No,
Yeah.
we're happy to do this.
Yeah.
We when we first started this, we wanted to do more crossovers with Kansas City
Mm-hmm.
podcasts, but man, it's been like hitting our head against the wall until recently, and we
Mm-hmm.
started getting some love from different people and
Yeah.
up and comers.
Yeah.
We were reaching out to some at first, and it's like now we've outgrown them a little bit, and in some aspects, and now we have some people like you. We just did Taco the Town, which was
Yeah.
a great-
Yeah, I listened to that. I love
He's,
that.
was
he's
fun.
got a
Yeah.
cool format, and it's
Yeah,
like it's
I
kind
really
of
like
centered
it.
around tacos, but not really.
Yeah.
It's more of a psychological discussion.
Yeah,
using
yeah.
it as a mask, and that's
That's
really
cool. It reminds me of the Hot Ones, kind of.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's kind of a
exactly.
similar format.
Yeah.
You should do something like you do a podcast and you eat chicken wings. And tacos.
And tacos.
That'd be great.
And you end
could
with
be-
diarrhea.
And every episode ends with diarrhea.
So what's going on with you and Lawrence as far as like the top?
Lawrence is a town, not a person.
I live here.
Yeah, and
So are
I'm,
you dating Lawrence now?
I'm to understand there's some kind of school. Yeah. A school of some sort. DeVry University. So
Oh man. So yeah, what best of Lawrence?
best
Is that
of
your-
Lawrence, yeah.
Yeah, I just went to that ceremony the other
That's cool.
day.
That's awesome.
Nothing's happening now, but it was the voting was last February, and this podcast just got voted as one of the top 5 in Lawrence.
Wow.
And yeah, it didn't make top 3, but it was cool to be able to like be invited to this big ceremony. At,
Right.
I don't know if you guys have been to like Abe and Jake's Landing. It's like a really cool venue.
Is that
it's
right
like,
on the river?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of part of like the Riverfront Mall or like what used to be.
It's where Ryan and Sophia had their wedding
I've
reception.
DJ'd weddings.
It's a
there.
beautiful wedding
Yeah.
venue. Like I want to get if I have a wedding anytime soon, then it would probably be in Lawrence for sure, or at Abe and Jake's because it's just such a cool venue. My dream is to sell out a show there, but that's
yeah?
just a
Someday.
pipe dream. Yeah,
Well, you know, we've been talking about maybe doing like a podcast network
yeah,
where we
yeah,
find other podcasts and kind of link up with them and maybe do.
yeah.
like
You
a-
talk to the Talk of the Town guy.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah.
You guys were talking about the kind of the podcast community.
Oh yeah, we had a name for it too. Where we all get together and concentrate. We call it a concentration camp. That's what we were thinking.
Dave,
I think they already have
Dave
that.
something.
David something.
Yeah,
I think his name was Dave and Buster's.
No,
David-
his name is Dave Coulier.
David Taco.
Dave Coulier.
Dave Coulier. Cut it out. Full House is awesome.
Your,
Bring
your
it
audience
back.
will get that.
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll get it.
Something the kids are watching
something like that.
from '95.
Yeah, no, I've thought that would be a great idea. And like, I'm part of a couple like Facebook groups and Twitter. People have added me to stuff, but I haven't actually been to like any meetup or like big community meeting or anything like that. I think that would be awesome.
There
for
is
podcasting.
supposedly like
Totally.
a Kansas City podcasting Facebook group, but
Yeah.
the activity on it is next to nothing. Like
Yeah,
nobody ever
yeah.
posts
Yeah,
anything.
grandma's running it.
I'm not into Facebook. Not on Facebook.
You know what I'd really
Yeah.
like to do is get with Boulevard and be like, listen, we want to have like a podcast day where you guys open up your beer hall, which is huge. It's enough for 300 or 400 people to be up there.
Yeah.
And just have it just be a tasting / podcast day where we just bring in tons of local podcasts and they all just do reviews.
Yeah, dude, that would be awesome.
And it would be kind of like a big meetup.
Yeah,
I think
be
that'd be
cool.
pretty awesome.
yeah. Well,
We
you
have-
guys know Boulevard better than I do, so you should get on that.
Yeah, we're hoping we haven't completely alienated ourselves from them.
By talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
From Boulevardia. That was
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
was it your wife was giving away free drinks from the VIP area?
She just got one round. It wasn't. She got free water.
she was throwing them up over the chain link fence though.
She just got free water from
It
me.
was a good move.
I was thirsty.
She's gonna ruin it for all of us for water
They're not going to have water next
She's
year.
gonna get us all kicked out.
It's like,
because of Katie.
you
no
brought
more
this
water.
on yourselves, kids.
They just start scolding
Nothing
everybody.
but beer from here on out.
We tried.
oh man.
We tried not to drink any water the whole time.
We did it for Jesus.
Yeah. Good. Every once in a while.
Gotta drink
So
the water.
this is probably the most cliche question to ask on a podcast, but like I haven't heard you guys actually tell the story of what started the Kansas City podcast. And I'm really, I know they even asked it on the morning show that I
Let's
watched
go,
this
guys.
morning.
Something
You guys just said
about
like, oh, we've known each other forever.
Someone was
I'm like,
dating who?
Yeah.
Someone else. And
so boring. No,
Yeah, we all kinda
typical
grew up.
story: guy meets girl.
You want the long version or the short version?
either one, whichever one's funnier.
Well, as soon as
You want me to sum it
stories.
up? Basically,
I-
basically, Matt had the idea that he wanted to start a podcast and he was going to do it himself and just kind of go around and interview local Kansas City entrepreneurs and businesses and stuff.
just interesting people in general.
Yeah.
And something happened between that and calling us. So there was some kind of epiphany.
I realize I wouldn't be able to carry a show by myself. I think I'm fairly entertaining, but not enough for people to tune in, once a week. I always had an affinity for radio from a very early age. I thought it was cool. Just, I don't know, as even as like a 4 or 5 year old, my grandma, she had this cool audio setup and I would play, Radio Guy. She had a little microphone I would plug in and do like fake little radio shows, and I even worked in radio for a while, not on air, but in the sales and marketing side. I've always been, for some reason, enamored.
I'm just picturing Matt like playing Mr. Sandman on loop all
bum,
day,
bum,
every
bum,
day,
bum, bum,
while
bum,
wearing
bum,
a little sweater and like combing his hair off to the side.
Well, and then I think I was fairly late to the game with podcasts in general, because it wasn't until I think roughly 2015 or 16, someone introduced me, and I knew they existed. I mean, they've existed for at least 10 years, even up to that point. And I started listening to some that people had turned me to. And one was kind of this big health and fitness podcast called Mind Pump. And I loved it. I mean, it was informative, it was educational, but it was entertaining too. And you really got to know the guys as personalities. They weren't, hey, we're, mid 90s radio hosts and we're going to cheese it up.
They're like, I'm bald and I'm having midlife crisis.
Well, if
Can't stand
anything,
that.
their mentality from the beginning of that show in particular was, I think they even say, like no F's given. Like they would be themselves. And if people got offended by it, tough. And this is who we are.
Which is why they're one of the top 10 fitness podcasts.
Yeah.
Like consistently.
Yeah.
And so when I was introduced to podcasts, that was the first impression I ever had of podcasts. I think before that, I had listened to some of Will Sasso's 10-minute podcast. I listened to like 2 or 3 episodes, so I really wasn't familiar with it. But then I started expanding and listening to others, and it was a good and a bad thing, because I would listen to some, like I listened to Joe Rogan. It's like, oh, this is good. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
And then I started listening to others going, wow, there's a lot of awful, just horrendous podcasts out there. It's some, kid or couple recording in what sounds like a bathroom with a microphone that's 15 feet away from them. And then I started kicking around the idea of like, I could get a microphone. I think I know audio decent enough. And that's when I thought, well, I'm gonna do it by myself. But then I started thinking about it, like, I'm not entertaining. And I had done creative stuff with these guys on and off, over like a decade or so. And we had done goofy YouTube videos before, and we always had
lightsaber battles.
Yeah.
And, like
Had always done
parodies.
but it was always comedy centric. And I thought, you know what, let's, instead of doing this purely as an interview format show, let's just, try to get the two guys involved and play it by ear and see where the podcast took us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I've always. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I just love the format. Like three buddies that are just hanging out, kind of shooting the shit with whoever they want to hang out with. And it seems like you guys cover a wide variety of topics. And like that's always a question I never know how to answer when they're like, so what do you talk about on your show? And you're like, what?
We talk about everything from slavery to super slavery. We cover pretty much all the topics.
No, I would say, I started figuring this out, that I just kind of referred to it as a variety type show. Not like an old Donnie and Marie type variety show.
That's more like a Sonny and Cher type variety show.
Zing.
Or the Jackson Family Hour. That
Partridge Family.
Partridge Family.
We all wave to the camera. Good night, everybody.
We're all wearing orange jumpers.
Credits. No, because I never wanted to back us into a corner as far as what we do on the show. Is it purely an interview format show? Is it purely a discussion format? Is it just movie reviews? Is it purely just discussing pop culture? And I thought, let's do what 3 people, when they get together, what they do normally is they talk about anything and everything.
Yeah, just whatever comes up, whatever you're into that week, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's the selfish reason was, for one, again, I didn't want to paint us into a corner to go, well, we can't do that. We can't do that because, we're only a movie review podcast. But from, we always had the mentality, we wanted it lighthearted. We wanted it comedic. We didn't want it to get heavy handed because we wanted our show to be a reprieve. We want it to be a relief from the heavy-handed controversial stuff out there.
We try not to talk about all the awesome things happening in the world.
Which is, it's tough.
Yeah,
it's really tough.
hard.
Especially in the political scene right now. I mean, they're just, if you are a comedy writer, you are literally just on a silver platter being handed material.
Trump, orange, Russia.
Yeah, what I was going to say is I love comedy, and I've always written comedy. When we did our YouTube videos, I'd always write out the scripts and stuff. This is what we're going to say. So, and I don't want to perform it, though. I don't want to be a stand-up. So this was a great outlet for me, and I know for Kyle, too, being able to write comedic pieces.
I think we're comedy writers, really.
Well, yeah,
like,
and
that's
incorporating
our
that
style
to
of
a show. So if the show doesn't seem scripted, then I think we're doing pretty good, because for the most part, we have an outline and jokes that we pepper in that we've written and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we enjoy it.
That's
We have a
cool.
great time.
That's really cool because I have like no outline. My whole goal is to not use my notes. like
Yeah.
Oh, we
normally.
did that crossover Taco the Town, and he had everything written out. It was perfect. I'm like, wow, you're a really professional.
I know.
Like sound cue insert here.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, we'll pause for editing, and then
Well, that's what I like about his show. It is kind of a callback to the old radio format, but he's not cheesy. So it's still him.
It seems like he's sort of sarcastic about the whole
Yeah,
thing.
it
like
almost
he
is.
just doesn't take it
He's
too
in on the
seriously.
joke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's awesome.
he's a little meta
totally.
in his
Yeah.
own show, which I find really entertaining. And I semi joke about it, but it is true. I talk about how we have no idea what we're doing. We're not professionals, and honestly, we're not. And I think that's part of the appeal is that people have been coming along the ride with us. Like, okay, well, these guys have no idea. We have no professional training as
Yeah.
broadcasters at all. So here's three weirdos behind a mic and have fun.
And we've had some of the, like we had Crystal Lampet on, and we had it at the Casey studio, the KSHP.
green room.
Yeah, and she's like 15 minutes in, she's like, so when does this start?
Yeah, you're like, oh, we've been
Oh,
going.
we've been going the whole time. Yeah.
like I think traditionally media is used to like a very formatted introduction. and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
here's the
So
show.
being
and
like, I like to welcome so
Yeah.
and so on
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah.
bullet,
Well,
But that's
witty
the thing.
banter.
I feel like that type of stuff is so redundant because you don't need that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
when you click on the episode, you already know what it's about because it has a title on
and
it.
it's
Yeah.
So this is like
insincere.
featuring.
Well, and it's been filtered through
so-and-so.
like what they want you to hear, and they don't want to offend these
Yeah.
people, and
Yeah.
they want to like present themselves in a certain way. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I think is the beauty of podcasting, and just the whole art form in general.
It's an open forum.
It's completely like unfiltered. Like I like to try to edit my video or my audio to just the least amount possible, and try to keep the conversations organic. So if there's an awkward moment or like something weird happens, like it's there. That's real life. So like just like that, I'm leaving that in. Yeah, it's such a cool format, and it's cool to be able to like I feel like I know you guys a little bit already just because I've been catching up trying to get to know you guys for this episode, and it's cool that you can do that with almost anybody now and anywhere in
Yeah.
the world, and like I feel like I get to learn from the most intelligent people in the world too. Like I listen to Joe.
We're obviously
Rogan
not talking
and-
about our show.
Yeah, you guys keep me updated on Kansas City stuff. No, you guys are just hilarious and like and entertaining. But
Rogan has like the most brilliant scientists in the world. on
Yeah,
it. Like
yeah.
if you want to know about what's happening in the world of nutrition or nootropics or
Yeah.
like even like
Yeah.
a mycologist, like mushroom
But you
scientist.
know what I'm noticing
It's
with Joe
awesome.
Rogan is that it seems like even if his guest says something that seems not really correct, he will go along with it, like just agree with it, type of thing.
Sometimes.
I
Yeah.
disagree. I think he does that a little bit just to.
I think he
Up
does
to a
that for the
point.
sake of the interview
Yeah.
sometimes to get a little bit more information
Yeah.
out of him. But if a guest will say something fundamentally or that goes
he'll
against
go-
his
he'll go,
fundamentals,
no, I want to ask you about this thing you just said, and
yeah,
he'll call back.
Well, and
to
that's
it.
kind of part of the job of like a podcaster. I feel like, and I've heard other podcasters address this of like, because do you guys ever listen to Bad Christian? You ever heard of that podcast? You guys actually kind of remind me because there's three guys that are hosts and they're just funny guys.
Or they'll kill him.
They're
check
kind of
'em
spread out. You'll have to find them, but they address that because they get called out all the time for having like far right and then far left people on, and then they're like, "Oh, you didn't disagree with them, or you didn't, stomp on their opinion." They're like, "Look, our job is to come here and give these people a platform and try to provide and like better
Yeah.
the conversation and make it productive."
One thing,
So
that Joe Rogan said, which I agree with, just because you have someone on your show doesn't mean you agree with
Yeah,
everything that
yeah,
they
you're
said.
coming to have
You're
a good
just letting them have a
conversation.
platform.
Yeah.
And even if, you at the end of the conversation you agree to disagree, that's fine. But you had a nice discussion.
yeah,
well,
that's
I
what
think
it's
a
all
big
about.
appeal is that it's a long format conversation. Like as much as we've done in other forms of media, especially like TV, is that even when we did the Nichols at Night interview, it's a half-hour show. It's half hour, but the actual content is roughly 21, 22 minutes.
Yeah.
But even those questions are very short and the answers are pretty
Right,
quick. And then you move on to
elementary.
the next one. So you really don't get to know the person very well. Whereas some podcasts I've listened to, again, Joe Rogan, some of his episodes, hour and a half, 2, almost 3 hours, or even
Yeah,
more
sometimes more. Yeah.
yeah, and you really get to know a person, and sometimes most of the more interesting content is in the back half when the person is kind of let
Yes.
down their guard of
Yeah.
sound bites and cookie cutter answers.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that like you don't really get to know anybody in under an hour. So like when you're talking to somebody, usually within that second or third hour is when you get to like the real meat of the conversation sometimes. So it's cool to be able to get to actually hear that.
I notice our episodes get really good right around the end.
Yeah.
Like right around the end.
Like we should just start now and keep going.
Yeah. Usually
Yeah.
right about when we're wrapping up, I'm like, I think we're getting into our groove right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That happens all the time. It's crazy.
How'd you come across our show in the first place?
I think Instagram or
really?
Somebody followed somebody or I followed one of you guys. I'm not sure. I'm always looking for just local people and trying to branch out and stuff like that. And so I've been looking for a while just for other local podcasts. It's kind of hard to find, especially in Lawrence. There's not too many. So I've been kind of branching out to Kansas City. I've had like a couple like Kansas City artists and stuff on the podcast. So, yeah, I think Kyle, I shot you a message first and just, just threw it out there just to see. And then I saw that you guys did that other crossover. So I was like, oh, cool. This is a possibility. This is probably going to happen.
Yeah, we
so
put the
always
feelers
down.
out there for a long time. Just
Yeah.
hey, if you want to do a crossover, let's do it. So
It's a smart thing to do, even with like brand new podcasts, because if they're decent, then they'll get better and they'll get a bigger following, and then you're promoting your brand to a bigger audience.
Well, we've been doing this for almost 2 years now, and I mean, we still have so much to learn. We're still pretty green in the whole podcast world. So, I mean,
there's so much more that goes into it too than people realize. Like
that's why I think what's that term? Pod faders. A lot of people start it up. And they go, I'm gonna get a microphone and talk in my bedroom. And then you got to be consistent with it. Then there's the editing, and then you got to create
to keep it up.
Yeah, then you got to create new content. You know, at the very least once a week or bi-weekly, whatever.
I heard this statistic that most podcasts, like I think it's over 90%, don't go past 9 episodes.
Yeah.
I think it is
think
something
I've
like
heard
that.
that.
Like almost everybody gives up before they make it to 10 episodes. I'm in like 30 something, so I'm stoked. But
yeah. Well, I always, and whether it's doing this or any other venture, because all three of us too, we run our own businesses as well. It's that whenever things get
drug
tough,
cartel.
underwater basket weaving. That's what
We're getting good at it too.
Is that your major?
It's my major.
is that whenever things get tough, or you're like, I'm getting stressed out, that point is where most other people give up.
Yeah.
And the fact that you don't, that's what makes you successful in XYZ venture. When things, because nothing is ever going to be easy. So if you're like, you're 50 episodes deep and you're like, God, I'm not sure if podcasting's worth it. I mean, we're creating all this content and we're not even sure if anybody's listening, or, will we ever be able to monetize this on any way, shape, or form? And I think where most people throw their hands up and they go, you know what? Nah. But the difference is when you go, man, this is tough, but let's keep going.
Yeah. Well, and I always say that like most successful people just suck longer than most people. Like they just suck at whatever they're doing until the point that they don't suck anymore. Like they get to that
accept
point.
The failures.
And like I want to just do so many things that I'm terrible at until eventually I'm not terrible at it. And I'd like to think that I'm getting to the point where I'm no longer terrible at podcasting. But if you listen to the first few episodes, it's arguably not good.
I've always said skateboarders have an easier time at not giving up because you're used to just falling on your face and getting back.
Yeah, maybe that's where I learned that. But like you gotta just eat it a lot.
Anything, especially in like the comedy realm, like if you're going to do stand-up comedy, that is like one of the gutsiest things you could do.
I couldn't do it
because you'll get feedback immediately whether or not you're good.
You eat crap every once in a while. Like every once in a while you have a terrible set, even if you're the best of the best.
Every great comedian has that story.
We've gotten that. We've been told to stop doing the show. Like it's not very good.
Yeah,
I was told by a relative to stick to my day job. So, I mean, we get that all the time.
Yeah.
But now we've gotten past that point of wondering, and we're not doubting it anymore. Like, we know this is going to be it for us.
Because we get feedback from people who we have no idea who they are.
Well, we have people paying $25 a month to listen to our show.
We have Patreons
that's awesome.
now.
Yeah, that's so cool.
People are actually paying for additional content.
Just started that up, and it's been a good thing. Like it's gonna add up quick.
Yeah. So do you guys think that is Patreon gonna be like your main platform from here on out? Is that kind of how you're trying to monetize things?
Patreon versus a sponsor.
Yeah, you guys don't do ads or anything like that. I haven't heard that on the podcast.
We've tried a few affiliate programs, and they're just nothing's really worked out.
I think
with
the
amazing
best
results.
One is Amazon, which we haven't even done yet. But everyone
Yeah.
uses Amazon, and I've even talked to people like I said, you buy stuff from Amazon all the time. Would you use our affiliate for Amazon? They're like, oh, for sure, yeah. We just click on the link. So
Yeah, but people say that all the time. People are full of words. Like we've had people who are like,
But
"Oh
who
man,
wants to buy a Rocketbook or to do Bloom? No one's constantly doing that, but people are constantly buying stuff.
I
from
think
Amazon.
that'll become more effective as time goes on."
Yeah, I think
wrong.
the more definitely the more listeners and like the more avid supporters you have,
Yeah.
that's when I think the Amazon link, because when you recommend something on Amazon, if you're an affiliate, then your recommendation is only valid for like a certain amount of time, apparently.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole FBA thing. There's like a whole separate Amazon affiliate.
Yeah, you
thing.
kind of get into the weeds. And I thought
Yeah.
Patreon, when I knew of it, I didn't really know the ins and outs of it. But when I started figuring out that you could create additional content specifically for your patrons, you could create
Yeah.
different levels of people who would support the show. That's when I think even I think you guys pushed for it more than I did initially.
Yeah.
because we're broke. And, so we're really
You're like, guys, people can pay us directly. We got to get this.
Well, what's cool about it is I feel sorry for our $25 members right now because we're not making enough on the show to really crank out like everything that we have in store for the future. So
Yeah.
once we get like more and more and more of those, then we can make this more of our full-time job and really
Yeah.
crank out like some serious sketch comedy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
really what we want
have
to do.
big
is
plans, but we just
more
it's,
video
it's
stuff.
time.
Well, and that's one of the
know.
biggest reasons why we, aside from the podcast, everything on social media, the website, there's a reason we labeled it Kansas City Media, not just Kansas City Podcast.
Yeah, you guys are going to start an
So
enterprise.
there's plans. Yeah, I mean, they're like, heck, even on the way over here, we're coming up with ideas for like silly YouTube sketches and stuff. A couple that are just gold, but the problem is time.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, we got to do the time.
Dude, I feel that. And, you got to work your day job too and all that.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm kind of the same way. Like this actually started out as a band, believe it or not, Better Ideas. And then it broke up like a little over a year ago. And I was just like, well, we have maybe a little bit of a following with our music. So, can I use the name and just kind of change it and use it as a podcast? And now I've got all these ideas to just like kind of turn it into all kinds of different outlets. Like I have the Patreon. I bought a van last year, so I want to like basically like do podcast touring. Like
That's my
That'd be
goal.
cool.
Too.
Yeah, that-
yeah,
I
I
want
would
to get a
love to do
Dodge
that.
Sprinter and
Yes.
live in it.
Yeah.
And then have a trailer. That's like
Everybody
little
has a
podcast.
dream.
Shag carpet.
No, dude.
A wolf on the back with a naked lady riding the wolf and the moon, above. A
Kind of
mountain.
Yeah, you
When
gotta
When
have
you
the
open
mural.
the doors, there's a panther roar. Like,
It's just, and it's full of natural light.
Oh
there.
man.
Natty's all over the place.
Natty, I just rolling in natties.
No, you're joking, but that's legitimately my
I'm
dream.
I'm not joking at all. Like,
Dude, that-
like I want to go live in Yellowstone for a month.
Yeah, dude, same here.
Literally.
Like I have an F-350 club wagon that
Yeah.
me and my girlfriend have been kind of just building into a little like
I saw.
kinda-
You have like the platform.
Yeah,
and all
we've
that.
got the subfloor in, and we're getting ready to put walls up and stuff. And then I've got another friend who I've been talking to who actually just started it. He basically
Wow.
like did everything that I've been planning on doing for like a year. This kid just came out of nowhere. His name's Josh Nordwick. He does Reality Tunnels podcast. Every time I talk about my idea, I have to bring him up because he perfected it basically. Like this kid's been living on the road for a couple months now and just going and meeting like just. He's really into fitness. He wrote a book called Mountain Fit, so he's talking to all these like Wim Hof instructors
Oh,
and
nice.
and like movement coaches and
That
just
guy's
going.
fascinating, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Wim
That
Hof.
breathing method is
Yeah,
powerful.
it is. Yeah,
I've used that before some heavy workouts, and it really does affect your pain threshold.
yeah, for sure. I've been really into that type of stuff. That's kind of my wheelhouse. Is like the weird, like spiritual, metaphysical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been into like working out and stuff lately, and
It's good.
And yeah, it's cool stuff. But yeah, so this
The most
guy is
powerful medicine out there. Is
yeah, for sure.
exercise.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree with that.
Have you guys seen on YouTube? I think they have a website too, but on YouTube there's this really awesome
Cat playing a piano.
cat playing. No. It's
I
like
saw
an RV.
that video.
It's called the Earth Roamer. Have you seen that?
No, I
Man,
haven't.
Look that up. It is like someone took like a Dodge truck. I mean the
Like a van.
it
Oh,
might
it's
be a van.
real boxy and huge, right?
It's not super boxy,
but it's 4-wheel drive.
yeah,
like you
it
can
is
drive it in the
awesome.
Sahara.
You've got to check it out.
Earth Rover,
Earth Roamer. Yeah.
Okay.
You looking it up?
Yeah, I'm gonna
See,
check
that's
it
the
out.
type of thing that because it's super expensive.
Yeah, it's basically like
It
an
is.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
F450
it's
or the
awesome.
Yeah.
version.
But I want one of those. If I had money, I would take that and just drive up the
That'd be
Pacific
cool.
Northwest,
Dude,
and
yeah.
All the way through.
I'd be cool
Canada
with
and
like
stuff.
that, like an Econoline with a pop up.
Yeah, that's actually the same
That's-
exact
that's
van that I
really cool,
have.
too.
Really?
Yeah, it's not lifted. It doesn't look that good yet.
Yeah.
Someday.
Yeah,
The pop tops are really
that's
cool
not
too.
a super expensive
Yeah.
mod, but
Yeah, but that's like one outlet for the better ideas thing. And then like I have some experience in screen printing, so it's always been kind of a dream to just start a little t-shirt company. And I think Better Ideas would be an all right name
yeah.
for that too.
okay.
So
We've been looking to team up with a up and coming t-shirt company. Do you seriously have the equipment to do screen printing?
I don't have the equipment. I just know how to do all of it. So I've been trying to get my hands on all the equipment
They
so
sell
that
it
I
at Hobby
could.
Lobby. They sell.
Yeah,
kits.
they have starter kits. I've been looking into it because for like less than $500, you can get one of the ones that clamp onto a table and it's
Right.
got a 4-color like silk screen setup.
That Value Shot guy.
Yeah.
He and I actually went to JC Tech together and studied graphics.
Okay.
And so we took a class where we did the original Photoshop.
Yeah.
And ran screen printing.
Yeah.
And we did like the lithograph plates and all that, and squeegeed it on and had the big carousel.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I took a screen printing class in high school, actually. My school, like, it's weird enough because we don't have any like really great electives, but we had just randomly my junior and senior year, we got a screen printing class. And I just like fell in love with it. It got to the point where I was like skipping class all day to just go print T-shirts.
God, what a nerd.
And, yeah, I'm a total nerd.
If you could figure it out.
I just like the
now,
art.
What are you
we,
doing Friday night? I'm gonna make T-shirts.
We have some good designs for T-shirts, and we're trying to figure out like a manufacturer that's
Yeah.
just starting out and would work out a deal like so that we could
A deal as being free.
not free, but
No, it
Yeah.
You pay us to make our shirts.
but we would give
it's for
them
exposure.
but we could put their logo on the back of the shirt or something.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That's what every artistic entrepreneur wants to hear.
I don't know
Oh,
if
you
I
get
should talk
exposure.
about it, but Jason Barr actually has been talking about getting a screen printer too. So you guys might reach out to him eventually because
That'd be
he's
cool.
He's an illustrator here in Lawrence, and he's like he sells tons of his artworks.
that
And so
name.
if he gets a screen
Well,
printer,
who,
I imagine he'll be
Chase McNulty,
in
who
business.
does Charlie Hustle. He gets shirts out here in Lawrence. They
He
have
does?
like he says they have a shop out here and they get shirts out here.
There's
do some
tons.
work
There's
out
there's
here.
a Sunflower Press. There's like
Yeah.
Happy Shirt. Acme is awesome. You can go just get like one T-shirt made there, which is pretty cool. You don't
I
have
remember-
to do a
yeah,
whole.
What are
Yeah.
their prices like at Acme?
Acme's
It
kind of
depends. Like if you just want
expensive,
one
isn't it?
T-shirt, it might be $30 because they laser print. But if you order, I think like 30 or more or something like that, then they'll send it off and actually have it printed
Mass-produced.
old school, yeah, on the silk screens. So like it's fair prices. Honestly, I think you'd be better off finding like a local dude, like somebody that has a screen printer
And
and a
I
press.
kind of like that DIY look.
Yeah, me too.
It's kinda
I
cool.
like the imperfections in
Yes.
the ink too, especially like when it's not completely consistent or
Yeah.
dry. Like
It
you can
looks
tell,
like an old
yeah.
1970s
Yeah,
concert
yeah.
tee, kind of crappy.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff.
But we got some funny designs that we want to start doing. Like we want to. I'm not even going to talk about it because I don't want people stealing our ideas. But
Yeah, true.
yeah, we're going to put it out there. It's pornographic, okay?
Oh man. So you guys added video somewhat recently. How has that been? Like
Video's cool. It's like pictures that move really quickly.
really so fast that it doesn't look like
It's
picture.
like imagine a frame and then another frame and then another frame.
But, like,
and you
super
just-
quick.
Yeah, just super quick.
It's
cool.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll add sound to it.
It's been great. It's
black and white.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of work for Matt though. doing
yeah,
video.
lining it up. I bet is tricky,
so
right?
Kyle and I pretty much just come up with the material, and Matthew,
We give
he
ourselves
wants to be
titty
the-
twisters while he's doing the
Matthew
real work.
wants to be the producer, so we'll send Matthew like email information, like email this guy, tell him to come on the show, or Matthew will edit the episodes, he'll edit the video, and he wants to do it. I've
Yeah.
offered to help, but I'm like, I still don't.
But
I
that's
don't
why-
know how to do anything.
That's why he's a majority shareholder
That's true.
of Kansas City
He gets like
Enterprises.
40% of
Yeah.
the Patreon.
Well, I'm not saying this to be mean. It's like as far as the work, I do all the work. But that was my outset from the beginning. Was
These guys are
because
fat.
No, because I wanted these guys to just have fun with it more.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, it really is. But I'm sick and twisted enough that I actually enjoy it. I mean, I'm up till recently. It's been about, if I'm going to bed at midnight, that's early for me. Now it's
Yeah.
been like 12:30 or 1 because I'm also on top of that.
Aw.
No, I mean,
Poor widow fella.
no, I have my photography business that that takes priority. I got to get editing and shooting and all that done, and then
Matthew does boudoir photos of kittens.
But
That sounds
can you cut that out? Because I don't want
sensual.
anyone to steal my ideas. No, but the video was cool because that was something we always wanted to do. I thought it was going to be harder than we thought because I wanted to do video of the episodes, because a lot of times when we do the episodes, especially with guests, it can be very animated. And I thought, it'd be cool if we had, kind of a video to peek in on the episode. So if someone goes, if something goes crazy, someone can go, I wonder what that looked like, and they go over to the YouTube video. It's easy for the most part because I'll sync up the audio of the audio from an action camera like the GoPro, and then just take the raw audio from the episode and just match them up, remove the audio from the action camera, and then just play it. That's pretty easy.
Because so you have to keep editing to a minimum, though. Then at that point, right? Because you don't want to cut up the video and the audio.
Yeah, because for the most part, editing is pretty easy. But sometimes some people will make editing very difficult for me. I'm not gonna name names.
Matthew's pointing at me. I tell a lot of offensive jokes.
Cross the line a few too many times.
I tell terribly offensive jokes.
Some of them are just so dark. They're hilarious, but they don't match the brand of what we set from the outside. We want this podcast to be okay. If the kids are in the car listening, and Josh will be like, whatever. I can't even say some of the stuff.
I can't even say it.
And you guys do a pretty clean show too. I've noticed.
Yeah.
Actually, I cussed earlier. Are we gonna bleep that?
Oh, I don't care. No, I mean,
Right, we will.
No, but I did notice that, and that's that had to be a conscious decision. You're because you don't hear that a lot on podcasts either. So it sets you guys a little bit apart.
From the get go was if there is a family, kids in a minivan, they're on a trip. We want them to put on the show and not have to edit it by turn the volume down or hearing topics that are inappropriate, because we want the show to be funny for everyone. I know I look at people like Jerry Seinfeld, Jim Gaffigan. At the time, Bill Cosby was really good at it, but he would tell.
He's still really good.
He's great.
What do you mean at the
Did
time?
you
What's
see
the big
him
deal?
outside the courthouse when he went, hey?
That was
funny, right? It's like watching Hitler do a cartwheel. It's just really weird.
funny.
This guy still got it. He still got it.
That's our Bill. Rapist.
Oh my god!
But we realized early on it is way difficult to write a clean joke than it is a dirty joke. Dirty joke, anyone can write a dirty joke. I'm really good at writing those
you're
things.
amazing at it.
It's harder to write a joke that someone who's 45 and 8 years old can understand and
Yeah,
and
for
laugh.
sure.
So,
And we've seen a lot of bad comedy where the opener is like, F this and F that.
Yeah.
and
Oh my
another
goodness.
F-er, and it's like, okay. It has
it's
its
to the point
place.
it's not even funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's the one thing that
Because sometimes that detracts from the comedy
I remember
itself.
listening
Yeah,
to,
it can be a substitution for sure.
Yeah.
to Gallagher, the comedian Gallagher, and he was at the Comedy Store back in late 70s or early 80s. He was talking to Sam Kinison, who Sam Kinison just constantly F-bombs after F-bomb. Gallagher's like, you know what, man? You're not doing it right, because those words have a place. There's a time and place to use those words, because those words could be the punch to get the joke to be funnier.
It's like punctuation with no sentence.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
he was like, cursing has its place in comedy, but it does not have its place with every single joke needs the F word in it.
Yeah.
Or any type of curse word. I think cursing is incredibly funny.
Yeah.
I love it. I especially love really dark humor.
He actually named his daughter B.
But I agree. It does have a time and place, and not every joke needs to be dirty or have a curse word in it.
Yeah.
But our Patreons do get a very different show.
Okay.
Just now.
That's cool.
It's not profanity laced or anything. It's a
No.
little bit. It's looser. It's a looser format.
A lot
That's
of
cool.
slap ass.
Dude. Another reason you guys remind me of Bad Christian. They do the same exact thing. It's crazy. You
I'm
need to
gonna
check them out.
Yeah, they look pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm curious now.
Yeah, they're
They
hilarious.
look
dudes.
like my brother, and me.
Yeah.
They kind of look like that.
Yeah, they were another big kind of I think influence to the format was my brother, and me.
I haven't heard of that one, actually.
It's
It's a
Very
podcast?
funny,
Yeah.
I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, it's a big podcast, I think.
yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
it's
I'm
pretty
gonna
big.
look up-
They've been around a while.
It's called Bad Christian.
Yeah, it's like a cartoon picture of 3 dudes' heads, and they all look really special,
Like us.
like us. But we do make fun of our mental disorders a lot on the show. It happens.
Hey, you want to
Okay.
hear some, you wanna hear something
We
funny?
even had an autism
I'm
specialist
gonna
on.
barf if I do it. Never mind. It's gonna burp it to the mic.
Well, that's what's interesting about is I think we're man, it's really hard to kind of pinpoint with words is that we're not fake. This is really who we are. We're careful with our language and careful with the topics, and there's a lot that we have cut out just for the sake of being more family friendly. It's not a family podcast by any means.
Yeah.
But again, if there even are certain topics that start to get blue, even when we get close, we'll still use innuendo to kind of dance around it. But on the other hand, yeah, we do get real on certain topics. Like these guys are pretty forthcoming with their mental issues and their struggles and their anxiety. And I know hearing from other podcasts where they do the same thing, it's almost therapeutic. And I think you guys have kind of reiterated the same thing.
It really is, yeah, because
Yeah.
you're talking about it in a free, open format with other people that are dealing with it, and you kind of come to realization sometimes in mid conversation
Yeah.
where you're like, oh, I've never really looked at it that way.
Yeah. So it's like comedy. I think that's the point of comedy is to kind of heal wounds and talk about things and push boundaries that we aren't really always comfortable
I
with.
agree.
Totally.
But then it's like mental patterning. That's like what they're using MDMA for in clinical studies right now. It's like
With PTSD patients
yeah,
and stuff.
is like when you
Is that the psychedelics and stuff?
It's ecstasy.
yeah. But in its
I've heard they're making like huge breakthroughs with
they
that.
are within the
With
next few
ecstasy?
years it will
Or
probably be
LSD?
used in a clinical setting.
Psychedelics with people who are dealing with PTSD.
Yeah.
Yeah, MAPS actually up in Canada.
Yes. Yep.
The Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Substances. They have been doing all kinds of clinical studies on MDMA and psilocybin and marijuana and all that stuff. But the
I hear
big
marijuana is making a huge leap with.
It's a plant, right?
Yeah, it's.
I hear it's
I
legal
hear
in
they're
some
growing
states
it
now.
No, but I hear it's really helping with the PTSD with veterans and.
Yes,
Like,
I saw
it's
that on a
making a huge
documentary the other day.
breakthrough.
But probably the better one would be MDMA, and like to relate it to the whole mental patterning thing, they'll basically because what that does is it releases all of the serotonin that your brain has stored up, so you're completely incapable
flooded
of
with
feeling
serotonin.
anything other than happiness. And then they'll talk about things that have scarred them, or that they're struggling with, or that they deal with on a daily basis, and then they're
That
able
sounds
to
really
associate.
funny.
It's crazy because they're
How-
talking about like war, and they're the happiest they've ever been.
So I was
You know.
molested. And it was great.
No, that's actually what happens. But they learn how
I murdered
to.
an 11-year-old.
Oh man!
The look on her face.
But they basically learn to associate these negative things with the positive
Yeah.
feelings that they have at that time, and I think that that's kind of like the reason we need things like that is because a lot of people are incapable of doing that with things like comedy. Like that's
Yeah.
what that's for, is to be able to laugh at our flaws and the things that
totally.
are,
I think
are
Western
painful.
society in general, especially in the U.S., tends to have a culture of suppressing it. I think the tide's shifting a little bit. But like when it came to anxiety and depression, I think the go-to saying was, well, get over it or
Yeah.
just deal with it.
Bootstraps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I personally, I don't suffer from, severe depression or anxiety, but
Perfect.
no, I have my issues. Trust me. But that
Gender
it's-
identity issues.
yeah, that's a whole nother issue.
I don't know what I am.
So anyway,
Oh man, that comedian you guys had on with the gender neutral song,
Eric
that
Schwartz.
was
Oh,
freaking
yeah.
So good.
amazing.
Schwartz
By
was
the
really
way,
funny.
that is like the best commentary on that culture.
You should have seen it live, man, with the video display.
Yeah.
It was
Oh
epic.
man, that's
It was so fun because it was like poking fun of like how air quotes safe everything
and he's
has
the
to
nicest guy, like the
Yeah.
sweetest person. Yeah.
be.
yeah.
But I think for these guys, I think if podcasts existed in the 70s or 80s, is that I don't think it would have been as widely accepted to talk freely and openly about your struggles and
No,
your
that's
issues.
for the ladies.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, it was kind of there was a stereotype about people who don't deal with things like that. It's like, you're a wimp, get over it. Yep. And then as the light gets shined on these type of issues, you realize, oh wow, more and more people are dealing with this issue, and I think it has to be therapeutic to just get it out there. I think with any issue that you struggle with, just to verbalize it helps a ton.
See, like our parents' generation was the Vietnam War era, so you had a lot of dads that didn't talk to their children. They
sort of that like John Wayne archetype.
They don't want to deal with the
I'm
emotion.
just gonna be a tough guy. Where's dinner, woman? That kind of mentality. It was so prevalent because they just bottled up their emotions. They were not allowed to show human feeling.
One of my favorite bits that we've done, and we haven't done since, is a bit called Real Talk with laugh tracks. And the first one that we did, the first and only one, is
it's hard to go anywhere outside of it.
I talked about my depression growing up, and it was like a really serious conversation, or actually just me talking about my severe depression that I had growing up. And between every pause in post, Matthew would edit in people laughing. And it was the most darkest and most hilarious thing.
It's probably the darkest thing we've ever done on the podcast.
So
Man,
I said, because Kyle's as messed up as me. Kyle's mom died. And I said, Kyle, it would be so funny. You talk about your mom dying, and then a post we'll put in laugh tracks, and it would be like people laughing at your mom dying.
Which I would be totally fine
But
with.
Matthew
But I
vetoed
know
that
other
one.
people would not.
But
be.
now Kyle and I
pretty
Kyle
dark.
and I came up with another one that we
But
hope
you know
to
what?
do
The thing,
soon.
because of the Patreon, I think we can do it.
We might be
I think
able
we
to
can do it.
Yeah,
You
those
want-
people get it.
See how the real supporters find
we
it.
can do our really dark
first.
stuff with our Patreon.
Yeah, you can just use them as a guinea pigs on
Yeah,
anything. If
for
you think
sure.
it's over the line,
We
like,
wanted-
show it to the patrons.
We
first.
wanted to go into like molestation and like some of the abuse that Josh and I have gone through. We've got PTSD from
Put
a lot
laugh
of that
tracks
stuff,
on
and throw some laugh tracks on it
It'd
because
be
it's the
so
darkest,
hard.
worst, most transformative things we've gone through in our life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not funny at all, and that's the funniest part about adding humor to it.
Yeah, you put in a laugh track with something completely dark and inappropriate,
But
and
I-
it is so
Because,
funny.
like, case in point, there's a line I think at one point Josh is like, and Josh is completely serious because while we're recording, there's no laugh track, but and afterwards you hear the episode, and Josh is like, "Yeah, I was really struggling with anxiety, depression, and there were even times that days got really dark, and sometimes I just thought about ending it."
Yeah, then you hear the whole audience of people.
Oh my god,
It's just so
bad.
It's so dark. My mom did not like that. She was like,
my
"That
God.
is, don't do that again."
My
It's
wife
like,
hated
it's
it.
funny,
My
it's
wife
funny.
was like, "That is so awful,"
It's
but it's
super
so
funny.
twisted.
That's like it sounds like watching a sitcom without the laugh tracks in it.
yeah,
Like,
it's like complete
you don't know
opposite.
when to laugh.
You want to make you uncomfortable.
That's why I think there's there has to be power in diminishing it, of like it's therapeutic of laughing at it. I mean, if like I'll give you a case in point. I have a brother who my youngest brother has muscular dystrophy. He's yeah, see, I'm joking. No, he's wheelchair bound, but we make fun of him for being handicapped, and he makes fun of himself for being handicapped. There's times like I don't want him by me because I don't want to get handicapped on me. You know?
He does the Timmy from South Park.
Oh my god.
I'm afraid to touch him because I might get muscular dystrophy.
Or we'll
Can you get it from hugging?
I think
we'll be in some sort of setting where people will clap or stand up, and I'll look at him and I go, "God, you're rude. Why can't you clap, man? At least stand up." And he's bound to a wheelchair and he can't do it.
Oh man.
But
It's pretty dark.
But he makes jokes like that as well, and I think there's power in, or there's taking away the power of what, and people do. I think cancer is a good example. There's people who have talked about disease, comedians who have used.
Sometimes they'll go to the cancer ward and I'll just laugh and laugh.
But people that have been through terrible things or actually actively
Sounds
live
horrible.
actively
Sounds
live
terrible.
with something like that, they don't find it offensive to laugh at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like people with special needs children are a little less touchy about some things than I found just your
Yeah,
average.
that's so
case
true,
in point,
yeah.
A few years ago, Michael J. Fox came out with a show. It was a comedy type show, and there was this bit where him and his family were at the dinner table, and his son said, "Dad, can you pass me a spoonful of corn?" And Michael J. Fox got a spoonful of corn, was shaking it so bad to the point where all the corn fell off the spoon. And I was telling that to my father-in-law, and he got super upset. And I said, "But the thing is, how Michael J. Fox is telling the joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has
He's the one that
Parkinson's.
has
Yeah.
the disability.
Yeah.
And he's telling a joke.
Isn't
it's
that weird?
okay to
My
laugh.
Uncle Mike has Parkinson's right
Yeah.
now. And when he first started developing it, he'd be at a urinal and just moving his right arm like crazy. And it just
And he slowly turned his head and smiled at you. He looks over at you, has lipstick on his face.
it's the Parkinson's. I can't help it. But he told us that story, and it was, I mean, it's super funny. You
Well,
know?
that's I think
you don't think about
everybody, regardless of what you're going through in life,
You have to find
race
humor
or
in it.
background, everyone is subject not only to mockery, but you have to find humor in life. Because
You either laugh or cry.
Yep.
What's the point of life if you can't laugh and make fun of yourself?
Yeah.
Even if it's a stereotypical thing, you still have to laugh because
Yeah.
it's so absurd, so stupid.
Yeah.
That's why I think the movie Blazing Saddles is such a iconic piece of racial comedy because the people who are being racist in the movie, those people are morons.
Yeah.
Whereas the people who are black and are more apparent of what's going on, they're not. I think there's even a line in the film where Gene Wilder is talking to Black Bart, who's the sheriff. He was like, "Yeah, these people are people of the land. They're morons." So I think that's the only way that racial comedy can be funny is if the person being racist is an idiot.
Yeah, so it seems like it's kind of like the heart, like where you're coming from when you make those jokes. Like if you're like if you're somebody with a disability and you're laughing at yourself, then that seems like a perfectly healthy way to deal with stuff like that. And like to rationalize, like I'm going through this, I might as well be optimistic and like look at the bright side and learn how to joke about it. And then same with like if you're gonna make a racist joke or something like that, then it should probably be with the heart of like, yes, I'm not racist. Obviously, I don't mean this in that way, but so it's like. I do think I just think it depends on where your heart's at, like what you're joking about. I don't think anything is necessarily off limits, to joke about.
Some of the funniest like racist jokes, like case I'm not going to say them, but about black people, I've heard from black people.
Yeah.
They love them.
Yeah.
And I mean, whether you're part of a specific race or religion or a special interest or heck, even sexual preference, whatever, some of the best jokes about that type of people will come from those type of people because
like Dave
they love.
Chappelle has the best black jokes.
Yeah,
like
they
ever.
love to laugh at
Yeah.
themselves because there's humor, and humor generally comes from a place of love and fun. Now, sometimes humor you can tell there's a little bit of spite to it, and that's easy, I think, to pick up on. But yeah, you got to laugh at stuff because that's how you get through this.
I love Dave Chappelle's joke about trans people because he's like, you got to admit, it's kind of funny. He's like, because what man is going to look at his penis and go, nope, don't need that?
It's funny
Oh,
that
man.
people think that. Like people are just going out and cutting it off.
Cutting it off. Don't need it.
For fun.
I actually really
No
respect.
No regrets.
I really respect that he did that joke in his second special because he got a lot of crap for doing it in the first one. He had a trans joke, and then the second one he pointed it out, and he was like, "So I'm going to do another one," and he did it. But I think it was like whether or not you think the joke was distasteful or not doesn't matter. The fact is that like there's one topic that we're not allowed to joke about culturally, and he says, "No, I've joked about black people, white, every race, every religion, every type of person. You're not going to say there's one group of people I can't joke about because I can joke about anybody," and he proves it. And whether or not you think it went over well is debatable, but I respect that he does it.
But there was my wife and I went to the Comedy Store in L.A. and we saw Chris D'Elia did like I think 10-minute.
He is hilarious.
Bit, and for most of it, he was pretty much just venting to the audience. I don't know what happened, but he was like, "I will never ever apologize for a joke I tell, no matter how racist, how dark, or how inappropriate. Never, because once I apologize, it legitimizes what I just said."
Yeah.
So
that's why I think Sam B should not have apologized for what she said about Trump. I mean, like comedians should be like Switzerland. You should be able to just say whatever.
Yeah. I wanted
It's
to
a
talk
testing
about that
ground.
once, almost on an episode. It's
Is
like
she the one that like
there's-
ripped everyone apart at that big?
no, that's Michelle
No,
Wolf.
Michelle
Yeah,
Wolf. In
Michelle
fact,
Wolf is
we
hilarious.
almost got her on our show before
No way.
before she blew
Almost.
up.
Dang.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't pursue it though. That was a bad.
Which
move.
kicks
probably
me.
my fault.
didn't
might have been.
see that coming
Yeah.
though.
But yeah, it's like for some reason now comedians have been under attack recently about poking fun at stuff that's prevalent in the news. I mean, every now and then I have to take a step back and I think, if I'm not trying to get political, but if Hillary would have won, I'm sure the administration would be doing stupid stuff. I guarantee late night talk show hosts would be laughing about it and making jokes at it. I mean,
for sure.
Granted, it's a mostly liberal media out there, and yet they were still poking fun at Obama when he would do silly and stupid stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's funny for some reason within the past several months, specifically like the last year, now even comedians are becoming under attack or are under attack because you're going, that's crossed the line.
Yeah.
And you're looking back like Richard Pryor or I'm drawing a complete blank. George Carlin.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're like, man, some of their stuff that was rough, and people think they're geniuses.
Well, Don Rickles. I mean, I was
Oh my
watching a
gosh.
bit with Don Rickles at the was it the Comic Relief back in the early '90s. He was telling the most racist jokes I think I have ever heard, and the audience was, the audience was completely diverse. They were eating it up. He was telling racist jokes to this black man, sitting right up front, and he was like in tears, laughing so hard. And it's funny how you can get away with that back then, but now.
Yeah.
No, people are way too sensitive. I think it's social media, though.
Well, and racism was a lot funnier back then.
Yeah.
Now it's a little scary.
Well, everyone has a
Now it's
soapbox
like,
now
oh,
via.
is this coming
But
back?
I think social media, like especially Twitter, gives people a platform to voice their concerns and opinions. And the problem is that nobody cares about your concerns or opinions.
Yeah.
So just shut up and keep it to yourself. No one cares what you ate at Wendy's for today and taking a picture of it. I don't care.
We got Josh Beer.
Yeah. No, I just I
grinds
can't
my
I
gears?
can't stand social media, especially Twitter.
Social
Because
justice
everyone
warriors.
has a stupid comment or an opinion, and I don't know. I find it incredibly annoying.
Yeah, it can definitely be used in a really unhealthy way.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's probably a productive way to use it, and like we're just kind of in that adolescent stage of like how to use the internet.
Maybe,
It's
yeah.
frustrating because
Yeah.
I consider myself a warrior for social justice. Like I want everybody to be treated
Kyle
fairly.
puts face paint on.
Yeah.
The
but I don't like what's happening. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gotten so far that way that it's become almost fascistic. Like you're not
Yeah.
allowed to have your own thinking.
Well, it's a lot of virtue signaling too,
Yeah,
where it's like
totally.
people don't. There are a lot of people who aren't really like doing anything in their personal life to like make the world a better place, but it makes them feel some sense of like community
Right.
by finding like-minded people to go call out other people for being wrong,
Clutching
and-
your pearls and going, I am so deeply appalled by what was just said.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
offended my delicate sensibilities.
Yeah.
And I don't know
Who's
why I
with
wear
me?
pearls, but I just
Yeah.
I feel pretty.
You look good with it.
It is Saturday, so
Yeah, it's like it's like an identity politics kind of thing, and then it's
Totally.
like a war of ideologies going on right now, is what it seems like. And like I don't know what it is about everyone who like. You don't hear people say, I don't know anymore. That's like one of my favorite and most refreshing things to hear anybody say is, I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Could you educate me on that?
There's certain things
And-
everybody doesn't know about.
Yeah, and it's just like everyone for some reason feels this need to like dig their heels in
I didn't
and
know
like
your dog
no.
wasn't really a wolf.
There you go.
Yeah, everybody does dig their heels
Yeah.
in without even thinking about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then like to bring it back to the comedians thing, it's bad when you hear other comedians calling out comedians, because then it's like then you're really starting to it's almost impeding on free speech if you think about it. Like and that's a big debate right now.
With
too.
Michelle Wolf at the correspondence dinner, there were other comedians. Some, granted, few that were saying, yeah, that might have crossed the line. She should have been aware of who the audience was.
What
Going,
people
what?
were
Have they
saying
not
that?
seen comedians at previous correspondence dinners? I mean, Obama was in office for 8 years. There were comedians blasting him.
Oh, I love it.
tearing
Yeah.
apart his policy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's Obama laughing along with it because
Mm-hmm.
you have to laugh at yourself.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
These people now who are in politics and in the White House, they don't have a sense of humor. They're just
No.
like Trump. And I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to be political, but if you look at Donald Trump the past, let's say, 8 years, anybody making a joke to him, he doesn't laugh. There's no
Yeah.
smile. There's nothing. And he's gotten people in his cabinet that are exactly like him.
It's a
They don't
humorless
have
administration.
A sense of humor.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is crazy. We're living in probably one of the weirdest times. I would
It
say.
is. Weird,
Yeah.
weird is a good way to put
Yeah.
it. Very, very odd.
I'm optimistic. I tend to think it's like the best time because more people have
that's
their
racist.
organic needs met. Is it?
I don't know.
Oh, we could always just make America great
dare you,
again.
Where's your red hat, Josh?
Make America for great again.
Yeah.
Oh man.
America
great.
Ferrera was great.
Yeah.
But it's not
Sisterhood
great
of the
anymore.
Traveling Pants, Part 3.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I don't know. What was I saying? Was I
that?
making a
There you
point?
go.
Is that what was happening? Comedy. That's what.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a little frustrating too when you see comedians kind of shying away from certain topics, or they spin things more toward the status quo. I used to love The Daily Show because Jon Stewart just ripped the establishment.
Yeah.
It was so funny, and now it's
No matter what political party.
Now it's very vanilla. Everything's very. And Colbert, he was like a really powerful voice.
Yeah.
To make fun of the most obvious and ridiculous parts of humanity.
Yeah.
And now he's vanilla, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, that's the same thing
hugging
with
war heroes.
Yeah.
You know.
Seth Meyers. I cannot watch his show because he is very he does what the media and what the people want him to do. For example, when Bruce Jenner turned into Caitlyn Jenner, and
She was always Caitlyn.
yeah, she's always been. No, Seth was like, we shouldn't be. You go look this up on his late show he had. He's like, we shouldn't be making fun of Caitlyn Jenner for anything that she's doing. It's a beautiful thing, and I'm thinking.
You can make fun of everybody else.
You can make fun of everyone else and everybody. Caitlyn deserves to be made fun of. But yeah, that's just
'Cause
what
she's a
bugs
jerk.
me about what,
Yeah.
like with
Not
what
because of
Kyle
what
was
she
saying.
did.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
wouldn't say
people
the sex change
like-
has anything to do with why you should make fun of her.
She's just a terrible
People like
person.
Yeah.
Seth Meyers. He sticks out incredibly in my mind. Yeah, they pick and choose what they want to make fun of, and I don't know where I'm going with this point, but it's just
But keep going.
he just annoys the crap out of me. I think that's the point.
I don't like him.
Chinese people, am I right?
I mean, you guys feel the same, right?
He starts going off about Polacks. Okay, all right, Archie Bunker.
Yeah, talking about all this makes me like want to bring it full circle to podcasting and just why it's such an important like format and media and like YouTube, and there's all kinds of different outlets, but I think all of these are kind of the up and coming for like what we're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
Anytime there's a major network involved, it's filtered, and it's like what we were talking about with the ideologies. Everyone's got these ideologies. They're all these like mental and social structures, and when you get trapped inside of one, things just suck. They're just boring, and
you
they're
can't say most of this stuff on NBC or CNN.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Fox or
Yeah.
it would have to funnel your personality into the overall brand of the corporation that you represent.
Yeah.
And podcasting is great because we don't have that. We don't have upper management.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a dangerous thing too, because you have to self-edit.
It can be, yeah. You can put the nail in your own coffin.
Yeah.
If you say something too absolutely terrible and go viral in like the wrong way,
You have to know your
Yeah.
audience. For sure.
yeah. But it's just so cool because it's like the people have kind of spoken, like with YouTube, even like you can kind of see YouTube going away a little bit, and people like kind of
Yeah.
leaning towards like Patreon and Vimeo and like some of these other ones where I think we're moving to an age where people are just going to have to support artists that they want in order to get quality content.
Right.
Because anything else is going to be ridiculously filtered through ads and networks and all of this. And it's like I think that we're on the leading edge of what's going to be like the future of
Absolutely.
entertainment.
Oh,
Well, like
sure.
like the Young Turks, they're the largest news channel in the world. And
Yeah.
they're on YouTube.
Yeah.
They've been on
Yeah.
YouTube since the beginning.
Yeah.
And they're just now starting an audio-only network.
That's crazy.
And so now they have podcasts with Jimmy Dore, Nina Turner, several different characters. Like they have comedy podcasts and stuff. And
That's awesome.
yeah, but it's just funny to see like this video giant in independent news media finally starting to make the transition to audio only, because
Yeah.
that's where it's going.
Well, we
Yeah.
were talking with a guy that who used to work in the news industry, and he was saying, yeah, the news they've got nothing now. I mean, even a morning show like what Casey Live was, they're bleeding money. They don't have anything coming in. They're having to let go of people, and no one's watching it. That's another thing. No one is watching it. And like Casey Live and the better. What's
Better
the
Casey.
Better Casey. Those shows are pretty much just all sponsors now.
Yeah.
It's all an hour long advertisement.
Well, it's very canned and manufactured content, and people can see right through that. And I think if you're below the age of 50, you have the X-ray goggles to see right through it. And people are turned off by it.
What's really sad is we were talking about this on the way up here because we worked for KC Live. You know, for a while we did several episodes with them, and it was always It was a great show, like very entertaining segments and stuff.
Yeah.
And it just got more and more commercialized to where now it's unwatchable.
Yeah.
It's like reading the ads in the
And I really don't
Yeah.
even see it lasting like 5 months.
Unless they have some major paradigm shift.
Do you guys think that's just the response from like people not watching those types of shows and moving towards like podcasts and YouTube shows and stuff like that? And they're just like, it's a money grab. Like they're like, oh, we have to get more advertisements or move to the internet.
It's
somehow.
a money grab from the management because they're coming in and they're running the numbers and they're like, wait, we could get way more money by having this company do an ad and only using sponsored content.
Yeah.
And this employee, we're paying way too much.
Yeah.
So we need someone else to take his place.
Yeah, this
pay him
vintage
like
You
employee.
talk about I've heard you on your shows talk about health and fitness. So how I liken it to what they're doing now is if someone who's severely out of shape, severely overweight wants to go, I want to get in better shape. What do? Do they go look for the pill and go look for the quick fix? Or do they look for the long-term solution, which is better diet and exercise? There's just no two ways about it.
Yeah.
You can't find health and fitness in a bottle or or a pill. And I think what's happening is these traditional forms of media, case in point, radio and TV specifically, they are not generating the types of revenue that they were, especially like in the 80s. I mean, in the 80s, that was it.
As the
Radio
only
and TV.
entertainment. Yeah.
You get
That
on
was it.
TV, you're something.
Yeah.
And people ate it up. So advertisers will look at them and go, well, that's the only three outlets. It's newspaper, radio, and television. Well, now media is so diversified. People like us who have no training in broadcasting whatsoever are gaining a following.
Yeah.
And
Matthew's
mass,
raising his voice. He's
no, Matt, because I've worked in media.
Yeah.
And I've seen even I was only in media for about 4 years and I saw the paradigm shift even with that time frame. They're freaking out and they don't know what to do. So they either have one or two ways to solve the problem. One, do we create better content to get those listeners, get those viewers back? Or do we start selling segments? And that's the short-term fix. And that's the easy fix.
And it seems like most of them choose the latter.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing
Yeah.
because it takes time, it takes effort, and that's the long game to create better content. You know, we were talking about the morning show television program that we were working for a while. Is they have a YouTube channel. Every individual segment got its own YouTube video.
Yeah.
They never talked about it. Never, ever. Some
And
of
that could
their
have been such a huge thing
each
for them.
video
Yeah.
would have like
single-digit views.
maybe sometimes
And
like
now they're
6.
getting, like, 0
The
views.
highest
Yeah.
one would be like 20, 25. When we were on there, because we would
Our
talk
videos would
about,
some get the biggest.
we would talk about all the videos and the things that we did with that station.
We promoted on the show.
and our videos would get, I mean, through the roof, like hundreds of views.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
it's crazy.
I used to work in radio, and what would happen is like I used to work at 96.5 The Buzz, and if anyone has listened to that radio station for a long time, they might remember Jason, the midday guy. Well, the midday show, the 10 to 3 show, was kind of struggling there for a while. So solution one, the quick fix, was to sell more spots where they normally sell maybe 10 30-second ads. They go, okay, we're going to bump it up to 12. The problem is there's that statistical chance you're going to lose listeners. If they hear, commercial number 8, number 9, number 10, that's the time they're going to go, you know what, I'm tired of commercials. I'm going to switch over to 95.7.
Yeah.
The long game.
105.1 now.
Yeah, exactly. The long game was to go, you know what, we got to create better content, which is, i.e., put a different host in there. Put a more entertaining host.
Yeah, come up with
In
new
there.
ideas.
Yeah.
Did you
It's
get
a shame.
909 The
He
Bridge
was,
out here?
I always said that
That's a
Jason
good
guy
station.
was
Yeah, honestly, almost never listened to the radio
didn't really
because
like
I
of
didn't really
that.
like him either.
He just seemed like a jerk.
Yeah. And then, after he was let go, Jeremy took over. So
doing good.
and she's doing great.
Yeah, she's a great DJ actually. Like, and I like her interviews with bands when they come through.
Yeah,
and
and see
play
that's
live.
her appeal. She kind of has this take on local music and has this reputation with local bands. And she does great. With
Yeah,
them.
yeah, she's good with that. The
But
homegrown-
I think that's a good example of media going, you know what, we're in this for the long haul, so let's create a better quality content rather than let's just sell more spots.
Well, and what are people interested in? And right now, Kansas City has a bunch of very good bands. There's a lot of good bands.
Yeah,
Boulevardia
amen.
is testament to that. Like
Yeah.
anybody that's seen Hembry or like we talked with Eames or, I mean, a lot of these big bands are coming out of Kansas City right now, like they did in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, and so there's a boom. And 909 The Bridge, Chris Agarian, he's the guy that directs all the music for that. And he does some things with
Yeah.
Casey Live.
okay.
And,
Yeah.
and Boulevardia. He sets up all the bands for Boulevardia. That guy is like a local music guru.
he
Yeah.
lives and
So-
breathes it.
So if you
I gotta
wanna
meet
kn-
this guy.
Yeah, it's what 105.9 The Laser used to be back in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
So The Laser was huge. I listened
Yeah.
to that. I recorded
Yeah.
on tapes all the time. Like
Yeah.
they'd play the good stuff. That was the only alternative station we had.
Dave Matthews over.
Yeah, Dave Matthews all day.
On a loop.
all day, every day.
Podcast got up, little boy.
DMB. I'm done taking showers.
No, I don't think people realize
some
Kansas City
flip-flops.
is blowing up when it comes to like music artists or even restaurants. People are coming to Kansas City.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's blowing up. It's becoming a really fun place to live.
But see,
and even to
old,
visit.
old media is not focused on that. A lot of terrestrial radio stations just kind of stink now. Like whereas like some of these startup stations that are listener funded, they're not beholden to the donors. And so they can do whatever they want. They can play whatever records they want, which means they're playing better music.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's the appeal of the bridge. It's like
Totally.
you can listen to a local band, and the next song that plays is Dave Matthews,
Right.
and they're thrown right into the mix. So I think it's great to go. Yeah, we know there's mass appeal, but we also want to expose the audience to local music as well.
Yeah.
Whereas most radio stations, it is corporate run and corporate mandated.
Where's your bathroom?
Yeah,
Media
let's
outlet.
stop for a pit stop
That's
for a
just right
second.
over there. Pause
Kyle,
it.
Kyle gotta go pee pee.
All right, you want to go at the same time?
Yeah, let's do sword.
Sword fight. Yeah. All right. So we all drank 2 Boulevard Wheats and all had to take a pee break. So
Yeah.
we're back.
And we're back. Yeah. Oh, that's why radio shows do commercials.
I had to dump my
Yeah.
colostomy bag.
That is the
I'm
one
feeling
thing that I
better.
admire about those guys that go for 3 hours on a podcast.
I don't
Like,
know
how
how
do
to
you
do it.
do that?
I don't
Are you
know.
peeing in a bottle
and
under the
they'll have-
table?
Some
Like,
of them are.
I'm sure.
They'll have like a coffee right in front of them. Like, how are you not just losing it?
Yeah. Those are the pros, man. You got to
Yes.
train your bladder for
We-
that stuff.
We flew out to LA to do a crossover, and I felt so bad, but I'm like, I gotta pee. Like these guys keep giving me beers.
Yeah.
and it's like we're like an hour in. I gotta.
That was a fun time because literally just as we got done, I got a call from my wife. We're in San Jose, California. I get a call from my wife who's at home in Shawnee, Kansas. She's like, I wrecked the car. I was like, great.
Can you do something
Oh,
about
man.
I need you to do something.
I know you're halfway across the country, but do something.
And then she was getting so because I wasn't mad at her. I was just hoping her.
Did she
and the
hit a
kid were
Bigfoot
okay.
by any chance?
Oh God, that'd be awesome. No,
Let's open that can of worms.
she drove into a curb. No,
Oh
a
man, that's
drain.
even worse.
She drove into a drain. I'm like, how'd that happen? She's like, well, I bent down to get something. And so that was a lot of fun.
That was fun. Yeah, we actually got a chance to go at that podcast I was telling you about, the huge one that's like always in the top 10 health and fitness
We did that
ones.
pretty early on.
Yeah,
was crazy
we got a
early.
chance to go and check out their studio.
They
And stuff.
invited
wow.
us, and we said we'll fly out.
Mind
That-
Pump? That one?
Mind Pump.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, we got to sit in the studio with the guys, interview them, and
These guys have a private gym.
By the way,
Like,
side note: has Justin ever sent those shirts or anything yet?
no, he hasn't.
Yeah,
Wow.
what the?
I hate that
Free shirts that we paid for?
those free shirts he's gonna get.
Yeah, I forgot about
It's
that.
funny because their studio's in like this hidden area. It's like a really dirty looking old abandoned
Yeah.
The
storefront.
glass has a film on the inside, so it looks like
It's like
There's
a
no
mirror.
signage out
And,
front.
so-
Nothing.
and then you walk in and it's like AstroTurf, the size of like a regulation basketball.
Dang.
Like, and it's just it's
There's a
straight up.
gym. There's a pinball machine
They got like
in
a
there.
little arcade, and then in the
They
back,
have their separate kind of mini stage wooded area where they do like their interview videos and stuff. And then they have their studio. and the ceiling, I don't know, was it 12 feet tall
It
at
was
least?
tall.
Inside the studio.
Floor to ceiling, sound panel, acoustic treatments all over. They had a green screen on one side. I mean, we went in there like, oh, so this is what happens if you stick with podcasting. But it was cool. Those guys
was
were awesome.
educational.
It was around that
Yeah.
time that Kyle was seriously at a point where he wasn't sure if he was going to continue. I think.
Yeah, the LA trip was really tough.
Yeah, and it wasn't until we saw the Mind Pump studio that I think Kyle was like, "Oh, okay, if I
Yeah.
stick with this,
Right.
this is where we."
And
can
those
be."
guys started recording in a living room,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is with a setup similar to this.
yeah, at a hibachi grill.
Now they have a line of supplements too, don't they? That they sell.
No.
Or they don't have anything.
No,
like
if anything, they're not. I wouldn't label them anti-supplement, but they're kind of exposing the crap on supplements.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
like a
There's
lot of them are
of
just,
that.
Yeah, but they're. Have you ever heard them? Mind Pump.
I actually haven't. No.
It's pretty educational, and you can pretty
Yeah.
much tell on the title of each episode what they're going to talk about. So
Yeah, I'm gonna check
they
it out.
do. They kind of remove a lot of the facade around the health and fitness industry.
Yeah,
I
that's
disagree
cool.
with
Yeah.
some of their thinking on things, but when it comes to like health and fitness, they really know what they're talking about, and they have a MAPS program that's pretty incredible.
That's cool.
I want to actually do a show with Justin.
Yeah.
He's just this goofball guy, super funny, and him and I are on the same wavelength. So I was like, I kind of want to do our own Justin and Josh show.
Like Ren and Stimpy.
Justin and Josh. Justin and Josh.
in the morning.
Hanging out.
Drinking coffee, lifting weights together.
You guys are back to back, like, oh, a camera.
Laverne and Shirley opened the two
Yeah.
doors simultaneously.
We had him
Falafel,
call.
falafel, slimy jabber jabber dabber.
We had him call in for a Star Wars review.
Yeah, for The Last Jedi.
Yeah, so because he's a
Yeah.
big nerd. So
Nice. Yeah, movie reviews. Is that a new thing, or have you guys kind of always done that? Also,
We
has
kinda
that
did
always been a side
from
thing, or
almost the get go?
It was a goal, especially from the start.
It was a goal, but didn't.
we talked about movies that had been out for a long time and classic movies, but
okay.
we got associated with a media company that actually works for the studios.
We saw the movie Kong Skull
Yeah.
Island. We got passes to that, and I just so happened to. We had an extra ticket, so I took my wife. My wife Katie met a guy named Steve Crum there.
Is a movie critic blog.
Yeah, who she's known for. I can't remember because she used to work at a vet clinic. Maybe that's where she met. I don't know where she met him, but yeah, he does movie reviews for a living, and
for decades. I mean,
Dang.
back in the day.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
So I reached out to him. We said, "Hey, let's get you on our show." We did an episode with him, and he said, "Well, you guys should, hit up Allied Marketing, who, allows me to go to these advanced screenings." So we kind of pitched a little spiel to Allied Marketing, and they said, "Yeah, let's get you, on the list." And we ended up getting, or having a very great relationship with them because they
And
let
now-
us do
Yeah, they're
a
getting
lot of stuff.
They're getting good feedback from our show. So
Yeah.
like people
Yeah.
are reaching out to the like they'll set us up with movie passes to where we can give them away from our website
To
so,
our audience.
So
Okay.
people have to link
Yeah.
to our site to get free tickets.
That's
and,
cool.
and they're getting good response from it. So they're
Yeah.
it's showing them that we are a legitimate media company, which is surprising to us. still.
Yeah.
but we get our own seats in the theater and like
Yeah.
free movies every
Yeah.
week or every couple weeks. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Dude, I know I feel that like when people consider you guys like a legitimate form of media, you're like, okay, yeah, sure,
if it's
we'll
like
roll with this.
It's imposter
I almost
syndrome.
get not angry, but I think I come across like put out or something when someone says that I don't know and they say, "Oh, I listened to your show." I'm like, "What? Why?
What's wrong with you?
What?
What
Like,
happened to
I
you?
get
Yeah.
really confused and kind of like,
It's still shocking.
Do you
to
do
us.
it on purpose?
When Boulevardia asked us to come back the second year and cover the event,
Yeah.
I was like, "This is crazy."
No, you know
Yeah.
what really surprised me is when Boulevard, Julie, called or emailed me out of the blue and said, "We want you guys to review our beer."
Yes.
This new beer that the collaboration was in. Like, what?
So we got to test it like before anybody else, and we did like a
That's
video
awesome.
review.
yeah, we recorded the video before it hit the shelves in Kansas City, and
They've
that
been
was
super cool about letting us record there too. Like, we did an on-site with the master brewer.
Steven.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Steven.
I forget his
and,
last name.
Jeffrey Danner.
Jeremy Danner.
And he's the brand manager,
Yeah.
Brand
marketing,
ambassador, I think.
ambassador. the head guy for Boulevard with the media. So
Yeah.
It's been an awesome relationship. I don't know that we're going to be we're not sponsored by Boulevard.
Yeah.
But we do have a working relationship where we respect each other for some reason. And we get to do stuff with them and they'll kind of hook us up in return for talking about them on the show.
What's interesting is not only do we try not to be biased towards Boulevard when we review stuff, but I mean, I am extremely straightforward and Kyle is, I don't want to say slightly, he's autistic. So he'll tell you, no, it's terrible. Or no, this isn't any good.
Well,
we'll just blurt it out. For me with Boulevard, I hate hoppy beers. I think they're gross. I never want to drink another one in my life. And Kyle is not the same with hoppy beers, but he'll tell you up front, no, this sucks.
Yeah, I've had some that were like, ooh, this tastes like pee-pee. It just doesn't, something's not right with it.
Kyle drinks a lot of urine. I don't know why.
I like a good pee-pee.
I like a nice
It's
rosé
sterile and I like the
pee-pee.
taste.
Your urine is very hoppy and I enjoy
Very
it.
urine-esque taste to it.
No, we Boulevard and Zipline did a crossover with using hop dust, and I'm telling you, both beers were astonishing. But Boulevard's beer was one of the smoothest IPAs I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
And it was the first time they had experimented with hop dust, and as opposed to using whole grain hops or pellets, or whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Little deer
using
pellets.
little deer pellets,
Little rabbit.
little rat poops.
Well, last night was the first time in my entire life I've ever gone to the liquor store and asked to buy an IPA, which was their Lincoln Up
You
IPA.
got the
'Cause,
Zipline one.
I got the Boulevard version.
Boulevard one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Boulevard version.
Oh, see what I want to get, and I don't know if you've tried it yet. And if you're listening, go out and get it. It's the Boulevard Boulou. It's Tech 9 and Boulevard's collaboration.
I heard about
It
that.
is
good.
amazing.
Is it?
Oh my gosh.
What is in
It's
it?
not a hoppy beer. It's almost like a tropical.
Cough medicine.
Yeah.
That really,
Pepto-Bismol.
It's essentially
it's-
lean.
It's a wheat beer with coconut and pineapple.
It's so
Okay.
refreshing.
It
So
is
it's like
awesome.
the Caribou Lou. It's like modeled after
That's
that,
what it
right?
is.
Yeah.
It's the Boulou. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That's just crazy.
It
Because
tastes
that's
like a fruity drink
wasn't
that slightly tastes like beer.
151 rum and pineapple.
Yes, yes,
from the
yes.
song.
good.
So
And it
mixing
tastes-
that with a beer sounds pretty
it
interesting.
tastes like that with a little coconut water in it. It's really
Yeah,
good.
it's
I mean,
That's-
delicious.
you could drink
that's
it on a
interesting.
hike or drink
That's
it on
where-
a bike or drink it in a car or
It
drink it,
would
with
be a
a czar.
terrible idea to drink it while you're
Drinking
on a
while
hike.
cruising on
Yeah.
I-35.
It's the perfect driving.
Just put the top down, let the wind hit your hair, drink
Drink
a
it through a
Boulou.
nap, drink it through a crap.
Drive on the wrong side of I-35. You'll have a blast.
Wind in your hair.
Dude, for police chases, it's the best
It's
beer.
the best
I recommend it very much.
oh my god.
If you're gonna be on the news, that's a good way
It's
to
the
go.
way to do it.
Go out in style.
You're just going Boulou.
Well, should we? We're getting like around an hour. I don't know how long you guys normally record
About an
before you
hour.
cut it
Roughly,
off.
roughly.
Like it's been
I feel
maybe
like we've
more than
been
that.
here or been recording longer than an
It
hour.
has been a little bit more than that.
Well,
so
we took an hour and a half to set up the microphones.
Oh, that's
I
right.
think
Yeah.
I just took a nap.
well, I know.
Kyle just woke up right now.
Yeah, I'm good. I can do another hour. Did you have any questions for us?
I mean, I asked a few. What's your favorite color? Or
Plaid.
Blue
plaid.
green.
All right, that's all I have. We can wrap it up.
I was curious about your podcast. So what's kind of the goal or the theme? What's kind of that succinct?
What's your problem, man? No.
I got a few.
I mean, like ours is comedy, lighthearted, kind of a reprieve from the heavy-handed topics and controversial stuff. What's kind of the theme of Better Ideas?
Honestly, like it's kind of hard to explain without going into a little bit of a backstory because it,
Okay, we'll
it
forget
started
that.
out.
All
as-
right, let's end this episode.
All right, see you guys later. Bye. No, well, it started out as a band, so my whole goal with the band was just to share my artwork, and like I feel like I'm kind of the type of person I have a lot to say, and I care a lot about things just in general. And so when the band broke up, I just needed some sort of creative outlet, basically, for me to share like my ideas and my poetry and my art and my music, and at first the band was the way to promote the podcast because the band kind of already had a little bit of a following. And now it's kind of turned where the podcast has been around for about a year now, and it's kind of probably has a little bit more of a following than even the band did.
Why podcast though? Why make that jump from all different types of media to podcasting?
Well, I've been detailing cars for like 4 years for a living, and I'm starting my own business doing that also. And so it's just like I got tired of listening to albums all the time, and I just started looking up podcasts, and I got really interested and just kind of fell in love with the format. And when I was in a band, I'm just constantly meeting people. I'm meeting other like artists and musicians, and I planned on doing a lot of touring and all that. So
what were you listening to?
Podcast wise, the very first one ever is called Irenicast, and it's like a Christian podcast based out of California, and they just did really good topics, and I liked it. I didn't even know what podcasting was. I just started like searching them on the TuneIn app. And then of course I discovered like Joe Rogan.
To Christianity.
No, that was long before. But
I was a full blown atheist after listening to that.
Yeah.
Lord. Yeah.
No, but I don't know. I guess the goal for the podcast and like kind of the direction that it's headed is kind of influenced by a lot of the podcasts that I do listen to, but also like I do have kind of a spiritual background. Like I led worship for 10 years and I went to a Christian college for a semester and then dropped out. And since then I've kind of been on this journey of this like ego death, basically, where I'm kind of going through, I guess, what a lot of Christians would call like the deconstruction phase, where you kind of look at your life and you're like, I don't know what I believe anymore. I don't know if I necessarily identify with all of these things that I grew up with and that I've kind of validated for so long. So the whole goal for the podcast originally was just to learn from other people and like other artists and teachers and just anybody who I find interesting, really. And then it's just kind of evolved into a bunch of different things. Like now, since I'm not in a band at the moment, I'm currently working on a solo album. And then when that drops, I would like to use the podcast to promote it and potentially start a band. But in the meantime, I'm just going to tour and I'm going to see how many cool people I can meet all over the country. So that's what the van is for. Yeah. And, getting some T-shirts going and kind of trying to just start a little bit of a platform with this and really use it to grow my philosophy and my ideas as an artist so that hopefully I can just make really good art someday. And like, I just want to open people's minds and I feel like I have kind of a pastoral heart. I don't know if I would consider myself a Christian at this current time in my life, but I still have a lot of those like wants just to learn about spirituality and other people's beliefs. And
very open-minded person.
Yeah. Well, I dropped out of Christian college because it didn't work for me. Like I just realized at one point that I'm like, I'm not that. Like I know I believe in God and a lot of these things, but I'm not the same as those guys. Like, and I don't want to play Christian music. I don't want to be on K-Love. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Not even people that make Christian music don't even like their own.
A lot of them don't. Yeah, unfortunately. No, it's true. It's
I
a
gotta
really.
write another song about
it's
Jesus
a bummer.
here.
Isn't that a cool song, guys?
What words rhyme with Jesus?
So what?
Jesus is like, I hate this music.
He's like,
I just got a text message from our Lord. It says,
It's
"Quit."
like more of a Dead Kennedys
Do
fan
unto
myself.
others, yeah.
What have you learned so far from doing the podcast?
Oh man, tons. Honestly, I do think that talking to humans, like, because all that we have so far of what like knowledge is and spirituality and anything that we think we know was discovered by humans, and so I feel like the best way to learn is to just talk to other humans about what they think, because that's really like. That's how you get to I think what truth is. I do believe that truth exists. Like there are things that are true and that aren't. And so like my, I guess, quest is always to try to kind of get down to the root of those things. So if I'm talking to an artist, I might ask them like what happened in their life that was like maybe one of the worst things that they turned into the best things. Because I tend to think that the thing that is the worst thing about us can also be the best, or the worst thing that ever happened to us might cause us to be amazing because it's that redemptive spirit that we all kind of have. So I don't know, man. I've just learned that pretty much everyone is cool. Like everyone's awesome. Like I haven't had anybody on that is like not fun to talk to. And like after a little bit they open up and like we all, like I think something that people miss now is the art of conversation. Like we don't
100%.
we don't take the time to just sit and like look at each other and really work through things that we may even disagree with. And so like what I've learned from this is that like your day-to-day conversation is completely different from this style of conversation because people have almost forgotten how to do that. And so like,
Dude, this is like listening to me talking on our show.
yeah,
I talk about this all the time, how people don't ever slow down to have in-depth, long conversations.
Yeah.
I think
and
that's why one of the biggest appeals of podcasting is because it's filling a void.
Yeah.
People love human
Yeah.
interaction.
Yeah.
So if they're not getting it, at the very least, they can play it over their headphones or their car or a Bluetooth speaker.
Well, and we're being real right now. We're just sitting in a room talking. We're not scripted at all. And this is something it's lacking in the world.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I see this all the time, especially because like I work in the car industry and I see this like this scenario play out where someone, is talking about, oh, I did this and this and this. And then the person they're talking to is like, they feel insecure. So they want to sort of one up them. Be like, well, I did this and this and this. And it's like, we're egos sitting there taking turns talking about ourselves. And it's just so unenjoyable to me. And like, so when I get to do this, like talk to people like you guys, it's just nice to be able to like sit in the headphones for some reason tend to help where you're focused.
Centers you on the conversation.
Yeah. And you're really paying attention to what the other person's saying and you're asking questions. And it's just something that you don't get in day-to-day life. And I've really learned that a lot over the past year just from trying to have conversations like I'm doing a podcast in real life and it doesn't work, and you're like, man, I wish I could really get to know you, but I can't unless I make a formality out of it, like a podcast. If I ask you on the podcast, you'll come and you'll act professional, but otherwise you just want to talk about yourself and we're not really having a conversation. So
I think you hit it on the head too. Like that's one of the most powerful things about the research into psychedelics like MDMA and psilocybin, things like that. Why it's so powerful is because it dissolves the ego. It dissolves your made up construction of who you are as a person and makes you realize that you're just a brain with like a meat vehicle moving through this world
tripping out
with other people that have no idea, and you tend to be a little bit more realistic about yourself when you can start thinking about yourself for what you really are. Instead of like this grandiose ego boosted delusion. You're delusional. Until you come to realize that we're all in this and we're all super confused. Everybody's super confused.
And it's kind of refreshing like hearing that too from other people because like it's so true. Like that's something I believe is fundamentally true is that we all have an ego and we don't really know how to be completely aware of it at all times, and it's really easy in day-to-day conversation to feel that insecurity and feel like you need to puff yourself up. And it's not that fun to
one of the things
to.
I've noticed about on your show too is you talk about minimalism and how minimalism is something that I'm a big fan of because it's not just having less stuff on your walls. It's a mindset of I'm not going to allow myself to fall into the comfortable rut of just filling my life with nonsense. That's not the root of happiness. In fact, it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, I didn't post it the other day, but I had this thought the other day that a minimalist is not somebody that has like very, very few things. It's somebody who is just content with having enough. And that's something that I try to express on my podcast because minimalism is something that I talk about quite a bit because I lead a minimalist meetup every month here at J&S Coffee here in Lawrence. So, we basically just get together and talk about minimalism. It's kind of like a church almost, but we just sit and drink coffee and talk about like how to encourage each other to like live more intentionally. Like say someone wants to start traveling and they don't know how to do that. And you think, okay, well, what in your life is taking away from the possibility of you doing that? And how can you simplify your life to the point to where that's possible?
Yeah, that stuff that I love so much that I'm paying every month for is keeping me from realizing my dreams.
Yeah. So true. And a lot of people are living in that rut, like tons. And so I really like to try to open people's mind to that idea of, and I'm trying to live an example. Like you guys see, I do have things, I don't like, I don't live in a mansion.
You have
and
hobbies, but you don't have a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, but I've tried to get my cost of living as low as possible so that I can start traveling. I'm really trying to live that example of like just having what I need so that I can do what I really want to do. And my goal is to start traveling and to see the world and to just kind of develop this philosophy with the podcast to where I'm not bound to the American dream, so to speak, because I've been trying it for a little bit and it's not working out. It's not my favorite thing. I really don't like working for other people, so
Right.
it's
Well, and
it's
you're
never
building
fun.
a corporation, you know, like maybe a car dealership or maybe some other corporation that you don't really believe deep down in your heart is going to do anything to benefit the world.
yeah.
You know, like you're kind of just grinding it out for the person that owns the
Just to pay
yeah,
the bills.
yeah,
Yeah.
so true.
Is there anything that would happen to make you stop doing the podcast?
Man, right
like
now,
if Josh
no.
pooped in your chair. Like it just happened. Sorry.
It would
Too
make me
late,
stop
folks.
this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you guys can't smell it.
Not right now. I mean, I've definitely slowed down because I've been working so hard on the van and I've been starting this other company. So like I haven't been uploading podcast as much as I want to lately, but all that's because I'm working on the future. So like once the van's done, I'm going to start booking like trips basically, and I'll do a lot more podcasts. Maybe I have to split it up into seasons or something. But right now, there's nothing that would really keep me from doing it because I don't care how many people listen to it. Like,
Yeah.
I really don't, because I'm learning from it and I'm taking away from it. Like, even if no one hears this, I'm still having fun with you guys. So, like,
Totally.
I just don't really care
Yeah.
how many people hear it or, like, whether or not it's deemed successful. So, and I think that mentality hopefully will make it to where people do like it, because I'm just doing it for myself and trying to provide value for other people. Like, that's my whole goal, is that like if I could teach you something or teach myself something and share that with you,
Yeah.
then it's useful to somebody. So, you know, even if it doesn't grow to the point that I would like it to, then I don't really see a reason to stop, just because I love it. I love learning and I like having cool conversations with cool people. So
I think people pick up on, especially when it comes to anything creatively, when someone's doing it for the passion versus when someone does something from the outset of, I want to make money
yeah.
from this. I think people are they can see from a cynical standpoint, they can decipher that. If someone, case in point, a podcast, someone starts a podcast and right from the start, like, we're hunting for sponsors and we need sponsors and
Yeah.
we're going to get guests so we can get good sponsors. Well, you're not going to gain an audience from, I don't think, from
Yeah.
that formula.
Rather than just working on the content and making sure
Yeah.
everything's
Yeah.
top notch,
Yeah.
and then you build an audience because you're providing an entertaining platform, you know,
Yeah,
for people
that's
to
so
listen
true.
to.
Yeah, and that's actually something where I took a lot from the. Have you guys ever watched the Minimalist documentary on
Yeah.
Netflix before?
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal
So it's
documentary.
two guys.
I highly recommend it. They have a podcast though, and at the beginning of every episode, they're like, "This podcast is brought to you by nobody because
yeah.
advertisements suck."
Yeah.
and that's like something big that I took away from this
do we get
idea of
that
minimalism.
sponsor?
Yeah, seriously,
we already
I know,
have
buddy.
that
Yeah, you guys totally do. So do I. But an idea that I'm really interested in is trying to make this like completely self-sustainable. That's why I believe that Patreon is like, I hope it's the future
I
of
think it is.
podcasting and entertainment and stuff like that. But I also don't need a lot of money to live off of. So I'm going to try to test that by living in a van for periods of time and seeing if I can just promote like, hey, if you give me $1 or $2 a month on Patreon, then that's going to pay for gas to go to this next state and have a cooler conversation than I did last week with somebody else. And
3 idiots from another podcast in Kansas City.
yeah, there you go. Exactly. And so I'm really interested in this idea of just trying to kind of scrape by with the least amount of, like, just to have enough and just to be content with that, but then to also be able to like let it grow only by the support, only based off of the support
Yeah.
that it's getting. So, like if 5 people, or I guess if 100 people gave $500 a month, that I could quit my job right now.
Yeah.
Like, and that would be crazy. And that's not the main goal.
So what you're saying is you want to be more like Jesus. I mean, really. You know?
Sure, that's fine.
Jesus had a Patreon.
He said the Son of Man doesn't even have a place to rest his head.
Yeah.
You know, he was a minimalist.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Actually,
you know
I do
what I'm
agree with.
saying?
Yeah.
He
No,
was a
totally.
minimalist. I'm a big fan of Jesus.
Me
Let's
too.
just be super clear here.
I think people give him a hard time, but
He was a nice guy.
A nice guy.
Yeah,
He was
no.
pretty cool.
He
You
did.
seem pretty cool.
So grow
Yeah.
on you. Yeah, no, I mean just being good to everybody, you know, no matter
Yeah.
what. His best friend was a prostitute, you know. I mean, he hung out with 12 dudes, just turning water into wine and
Yeah.
just
Keeping it
farting.
up. Farting in the
Probably farting at some point. I'm
Jesus
sure.
liked to
Yeah.
party.
You know, there's 12
100%
guys.
man.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of farts.
Still a dude.
12 guys sitting in an upper room.
Oh man.
Like, this is the last night I'm going to spend with you guys.
And then someone goes,
Yeah.
He's like, Peter,
Dun, dun.
Peter.
Sorry, Jesus.
I swear it was Thaddeus.
Oh man. That's hilarious.
I'm sorry, Dakota. I kind of hijacked your show.
We totally hijacked your
Yeah.
show. I'm so sorry.
You're
your
totally
audience.
good.
it was
No,
fun.
it's awesome.
Yeah,
I don't
thank you
know.
for
Should we do
having
like a 2-parter or should we put it all in one episode?
We can split
or
it down
what?
the middle. Yeah.
I don't really care either way, but
Yeah, split it down the middle, and we can do like the back half on ours or something. And do you do like after everyone's gone? Do you do a separate intro?
yeah,
So-
always do. I'll do like a kind of introduce you guys and
Yeah.
talk about what led up to it. And all
No,
that,
let's
all
do
that
that.
fun
Let's
stuff.
wherever you feel comfortable splitting down the middle, we'll pick up on that episode on put it on our platform. I think doing stuff like this is awesome because podcasts in general, it's an underdog.
Josh.
I
He's over
was-
there. Boing.
I know. I didn't mean to do that. That was an accident.
It's funny when I bump the mic, it makes
This
a
is
knocking
why we
sound.
have
You
to
guys can't
invest
hear this,
so much in audio equipment. Josh just molests our equipment all episode.
You need to get him a lapel mic.
Yeah,
That's why these springs are on the inside. Yeah, get him an
Can't
inside.
touch it.
The Bobby Brown.
don't touch your face.
Baby, how was I? Because I still think in general there's still an old fashioned belief that radio, television, and print are still it's the primary,
Even
primary
though
forms of
everybody
media.
knows they're dying.
Even though clearly it's a rarity
No
when I
one
ever listen to the
watches or
radio,
buys any of that.
and I will sit down at my living room television and go through my YouTube videos and see what cast the videos to my television. But I think podcasting is still it's been around for how long? 10, 15 years?
A little over 10 years.
And I
yeah.
still swear if you interview 100 people, 5 to 10 of them will know what a podcast are, and I think roughly 5 may listen.
What
to it.
are a podcast?
It's finally starting to pick up, though.
It's
Yeah,
slow.
it
It's a
is.
slow burn,
Yeah.
but I think advertisers are picking up on it more and more. But that being said, still it's an underdog form of media, and the fact that it's tough to introduce podcasts to people who have never heard it. So at the very least, let's introduce each other's audiences to other shows.
Yeah,
that are out
I
there.
love that.
It's funny
yeah.
going to these like media events and we're like waving at all the old media and like we're friends with everybody.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, hey, we're taking your job.
And then they look at you like, "What are you doing
Well,
here?"
Josh is
Yeah.
taking our jobs because he's Mexican. You know what I'm saying?
I'm tired of doing roofs and lawn work.
Wait, are you one of those lazy Mexicans that take everybody's jobs?
The Mexicans are
Because
stealing our
they're so lazy.
podcasts.
They're so lazy they want to work all the time. It's crazy. It's so weird. Yeah, it's weird seeing these people and it's like I kind of feel like they must hate us a little bit, like how they think they're media,
Yeah.
you know. But
They roll their eyes.
yeah,
and
they
stuff.
roll their eyes.
That's what's it like. I'll give you an example of something that I was hit with. My daughter, she's 9 years old. We went to Target and we were looking in the toy section, like at the board games. And my daughter goes, "Oh, there's some girl up on whatever board game." She's like, "That's so and so from YouTube. That person's a celebrity." She
Yeah.
has no idea who Angelina Jolie is, and she doesn't care.
Yeah.
But she knows who
As
that
should
I
nobody.
know who Angelina Jolie is.
But
Yeah.
she views that girl, I can't remember her name, as a celebrity, and that's why I think traditional media is probably a little bit bitter. You just drank it like Trump.
Do you think that Kyle could get a bigger water bottle? Like, good grief. This is like a 6-liter water bottle.
It's
I've got
real
a 5
problem.
gallon bucket over there. We can just put a
With a
spout
straw.
on it.
That's exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah.
On the way
We
here,
need to
just
make a skit out
have
of
those
it.
Culligan bottles. I just carry
It's
around.
like for a hamster, you know. Has a ball in the end.
Yeah, like a little ball on it on a stick. Yeah. While I'm driving. Yeah.
Oh man.
But media
Very funny.
creators they don't need they don't need credentials or history. I mean, you and us, we can start a media outlet from our own heads and in our own basements and go,
Yeah.
we're going to do this.
And have a bigger audience.
Yeah.
In almost no time at all.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And you only really have to talk to who you want to talk to, and it's all just based off who you're interested in. So
Yeah.
then your fan base or your crowd is naturally just going to be people like you who are like like-minded people.
What was that
and-
McDonald's thing you and I went to? Do you remember, aside from us, I think we were the only podcast there. Do you remember so McDonald's had this little local thing of like, hey, we're going to have people from media
We're
test
testing
out
new food.
testing the new food. It's now fresh meat, which makes you wonder, what were you using
Rat
before?
meat.
But do you remember, Josh? We were the only podcasters there.
think so.
Who was the other form of media that were there? Is bloggers.
Yeah,
Oh,
The
yeah.
rest of it was bloggers. That's who they almost they forgoed any other type of traditional media.
For went?
For when I don't know what the
Forgoed?
Forgone?
Forgone.
I don't know.
They forgone them.
Forgone.
They disregarded
Forgone
them.
with you.
No, but they had this event and it's all bloggers, and I think there was a couple local people with YouTube channels and us there. It's like, this is kind of weird. Kudos to this local McDonald's franchise to kind of realize that some of these, and I they refer to us as influencers, and I almost wanted to laugh, like, so silly.
Yeah.
But I believe
while
that-
I'm eating my 3/4 pounded cheeseburgers, like, they're so stupid.
You're like, I'm going to tell my audience about this. There's a paradigm shift for sure.
yeah, definitely.
I think, especially with podcasting, I think it's going to be more of a slow burn. I think it's going to take a little bit longer, but.
Yeah. Well, and I think that like what you guys are doing with adding video is kind of another avenue. Like with podcasts, it's not just like, okay, you have one TV channel and that's where you find it. Like there's all these different ways that people can get to it. And then adding video, which is something I'm really interested in doing in the near future, adds kind of like this whole other element to your content where people are used to just hearing your voices. And now they get to see your facial expressions and the live performances that you guys do. I'm sure that adds a lot to that.
We've had people like, oh, they really are fat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're not just joking about it.
Like, oh, that's why they did podcasting, radio.
Yeah.
You got a face for radio.
Now, I would say within the next 2, 3, or 4 months, we're going to be really stepping up our game when it comes to the video. I haven't even told these guys I'm making some investments into the video side of it because it's some equipment that I can also use for my photography business.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
tax write-off.
There you go.
But no, we've the YouTube channel, it's slowly, very, very slowly. I mean, we're still under like 30 subscribers at this point, but when you go from 0 to 20, so I'm like, yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah.
So
Sinful.
we went from 2 to 15 like
We're
that.
just rolling in subs.
No, but it just, we're going to keep that ball rolling and still just try to create engaging, entertaining, fun content.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I appreciate you doing this, man. This is
thanks
really,
for
really
inviting
fun.
us
Yeah,
out.
This was
dude.
fun.
Thanks for coming
Yeah, it was
over.
free beer.
Like I said, I feel like I'm the guy brewing in his basement. And you guys are like legitimate. Like
We just have a different basement.
that's true. Actually, you're in a basement.
literally in a
Legitimately,
basement.
I'm in a spare
What
bedroom.
I like about yours is you'll have a dog that comes in every now and then. We have to put up with Matthew's
Cats.
No, your daughter that comes
Oh,
downstairs.
yeah, that's true.
Like, what are you guys doing? It's like we're in the middle
Same
of
thing we've
recording.
been doing for 2.5 years.
Yeah, genius.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious if your dog came like, can I have a mic?
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. No, sometimes I think a few episodes ago he went and just literally like licked the mic, and sometimes he'll just bump into it. He'll make an appearance every now and then, but he's pretty chill.
I want to swallow that
You
microphone.
should come out to our studio though sometime.
Dude, I
Yeah,
would
for
love
sure.
to. That would be
Yeah, that'd be
awesome. yeah, we could check in a couple months or something like that,
That'd be
or
cool.
do whatever.
No, I think we have fun with repeat guests for sure. Like we're gonna have our third time with Joel Nichols, which I think probably by the time this airs, that episode will be out. We're gonna have a local fashion blogger who's been on our podcast before. This will be the
Nice.
third
She's
time.
hilarious,
She is
too.
so
Awesome.
just so entertaining. She's a
Yeah.
wheelhouse fit for the show. And yeah, I think having doing repeat guests is great because
Yeah.
you get to know that person even more.
Yeah,
Cool.
for sure.
Well, should we wrap it up? It's
Yeah,
been
let's
a
wrap it
long
up. So
one.
how, when people listen to you, how they can connect to you, follow you on all those social medias and all that stuff?
Probably the same place as you guys, patreon.com/betterideas, all the social medias, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, all that, pretty much everywhere.
Cool. And
So,
then we're
yeah.
at Kansas City Media and all those.
And your Patreon also?
Yeah, patreon.com/Kansas City Media. So
CAN.
yes, CAN City Media.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, yeah, this has been fun. I love doing this stuff. I absolutely
Yeah.
love doing this
Yeah.
stuff.
Thank you so much.
Fun little road trip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it again sometime for sure.
For sure, man.
Okay.
You want to wrap it
Anytime.
up?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, we're done. Bye.
Done.
Bye.